good.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, June 17, 2018. This is your award-winning Give On Nation Media Assassination, episode 1043.
This is No Agenda.
Collecting kids in cages and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm wishing everybody a happy Father's Day, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, yes, indeed. In the morning, and happy Father's Day to you.
Same to you.
Have you had a nice Father's Day so far?
I just got up.
Bull crap. What? Here's a question for you for this from one podcaster to another. Did the kids wake Daddy up at 6 a.m. for his work with a nice breakfast in bed?
No.
I got a short vision of that myself, yeah. Didn't think that would happen.
I don't think I've ever had breakfast in bed from the kids.
That's not a Father's Day thing. It's a Mother's Day thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think the dads, hey, get out of here. I'm trying to get some sleep.
Hey, get out of here.
Get out of here.
But so the kids are there, or are they dropping by?
Everybody's, well, kind of. Jesse and JC had to go to Michigan to go attend the funeral of
I saw that
Jesse's dad who died.
Yeah, I saw that on the Instagrams. That's sad. It sucks.
They posted on the Instagram?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it was a beautiful picture of, I presume, her dad and Theodorbs. And it was, I'll miss you, Dad. So it was, and there was a lot of rip, love, and lights in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. People that don't know who they are, never heard of them, but let's do that anyway.
Rip, love, and light. Yeah. Well, anyway. I got my text this year. I got a text. It says we're no longer on Sosh Nets. I'm not really on Instagram. I don't post anything. I don't look there. Rarely. Maybe twice a week. So I just get a text now. Love you, Daddy. Okay. Guess when your kid's nearing 30, it doesn't make any difference. Does it matter to you?
It's kind of a bit much.
Yeah, it's like, look, we know.
I'll tell you, it was a bit much for our listeners. The last time I'm doing either Mother's Day, I thought they all hated their mom, but they hate their dad too.
They just hate their parents. This was a shit generation. Guess what? Your kids hate you, people. We have proof. We have scientific, peer-reviewed evidence. Yeah. In general, kids don't really care about their parents.
One of the lowest turnouts for our donations of the year. Yeah. In fact, of the last 2 years, it's that bad.
Yeah.
You'll see when we read this.
Somehow this dovetails into parents being separated from their kids at the border. I'm not quite sure how, but somehow there's, maybe these parents don't, maybe these kids don't, they're happy. Like, hey, I'm finally separated from this douchebags.
Dragging me all over Mexico to get me here, and then
independence. Nuts. Finally, this was a great topic, and I got to say, when it comes to the rotation, it's this topic in itself. This kids in cages and ripping families apart, tearing children from their parents. Yeah. It's it has. All kinds of stuff. And Michael Hayden, former, what was it? Hayden, what was Hayden?
The torturer?
Yeah, what Hayden?
He's all for kids. Sure he is. So he can torture them, that guy?
He was former CIA, correct? He was the CIA.
Yeah, and correct? NSA and NSA. Torturer.
So he posts a picture on the Sosh Nets, on the tweets, and he says, there have been other governments who separated children from their parents. And it's a picture of Auschwitz.
Sophie's Choice comes to mind.
Really? I mean, that is... Whoa. I mean,
somebody, he should... I believe he should lay low.
Yeah, because there's going to be some version of a Nuremberg trial eventually. He'll probably be hanging. But this... And I don't know if I want to give the back. I did some research on this. I don't know if
By the way, this is some of the best anti-Trump stuff that the Democrats have come up with, and they're at least this time, to just analyze it from an objective perspective. At least this time, they're sticking with the playbook. They're not wandering off and moaning and groaning about one thing or another.
And so what is in play here for those of you? And it really is interesting because. In this case, Democrats and Republicans and the Trump administration and the media are officially and blatantly abusing children. Just abusing children for political means. They don't give a crap about these children. They're only abusing the situation and thus these children. So on one hand, we have...
Get points.
Yeah, so... And I, there's a couple things that have not been deconstructed in the media about what's really going. Do you have a backgrounder that we play first, or we just get into it? You usually have a background on this stuff. Yeah, you usually have a background.
I have a long background. It's a little...
Well, let's do it, because once we have it, then we can really get into it.
Okay, well, this will be... We're going to go with the best. We're going to go with
John, I went into legislation just because of, it was necessary.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I went to the best and done, in other words, the most anti-Trump organization, which is NBC.
Yes.
And I put together a three-parter. It's a lot. Beautiful. It's actually longer than it should be, but let's go with the immigration one hit piece.
There is growing national outrage tonight over the Trump administration's policy of separating families who cross this country's southern border. Administration officials say they are simply enforcing existing laws meant to discourage illegal immigration. Opponents say the practice is an affront to American values. It's all happening as a Republican bill is working its way through Congress, a bill that would restrict the practice but also fund the president's controversial border wall. We begin our coverage tonight with NBC's Gotti Schwartz, who is near the border in California.
So I'll just briefly pause for a second. That's how the Trump administration and the Republicans are abusing children, is by using this very point, which I think the Democrats have brought into play. I'm not even sure they did, but they're abusing children for political gain right here.
They're building 10 cities near the border, a necessary step as the Trump administration's hardline immigration policy has had its intended effect. Thousands of migrants swept up, detained after both illegal and legal border crossings, many of them children. 2,000 already separated from their parents in the last 6 weeks, housed in a former Walmart or small group homes like this one in San Diego.
If a family has both boys and girls as children, then the siblings are separated. The girls live in a different facility. The boys live here.
It's not just near the border where you could see this story playing out. On a porch in Chicago, some 2,000 miles from the Tijuana border crossing, where Maritza Delgado entered the U.S. seeking asylum, her family now awaits a hearing, and every day they wait for this call. Maritza's 18-year-old daughter on the phone, separated from her mother and sisters and detained in California for more than a month.
They haven't told her when she might be able to get out or when she might be able to see her mom again.
The family entered the country with that migrant caravan, legally asking for asylum at a U.S. port of entry. Yeah. She says gangs tortured and killed her father.
They found him in the field and that he had been decapitated.
A return home, they say, would be certain death. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said this week fear of gangs is no longer a reason to be granted safe haven here, using Bible verse to justify the administration's new immigration practices.
I would cite you to the Apostle Paul and his clear and wise command in Romans 13 to obey the laws of the government, because God has ordained the government for his purposes.
Man, Sessions is high. What is that guy thinking?
He is totally off the rails.
That is, I mean, of all the things to do, but this wasn't some press thing, was it? He was just talking to a group who would be wanting to hear this.
I'm not sure where that came from, but NBC and all the networks, they have this kind of B-roll room, and they just randomly take stuff from the campaign.
You're so right. It's almost like the instant replay room at big NFL games. There's a whole separate truck. That's all they do all day is get the replays, rack them up, get the great spots, put in the telestrator, all that stuff. That's what they must have at NBC for this kind of stuff, for B-roll.
Yeah, they just find all these old things. I mean, that's why they keep bringing, they keep constantly bringing in old Trump quotes from like the campaign.
Yeah.
And it's just, and they're all random. There's no real, it's just put there for effect. It's like a rim shot.
Yeah, just a hit piece. Boom. Yeah, they're kind of
it's a little hit. Boom.
They're kind of taken, from us, what we do.
Build the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Or
any collusion,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we do it, but we do it for different reasons. They're doing it to bamboozle the public. He said that. When did he say? He said that. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I think they're onto a winner here.
By the way, I also really really like that voiceover. That voiceover was a little different for NBC. They're giving it. Let me just rack it up again.
There is growing national outrage tonight.
So they're giving it this kind of extra, like hush hush, like you're watching something really, like really evil taking place. Hold on, where is this guy? Here we go.
Immigration policy has had its intended effect. Thousands of migrants swept up, detained after both illegal and legal border crossings.
You know what I mean?
I didn't notice it, but now that you mentioned it, it's done for effect. It's fantastic.
Yeah, little nuance.
Yeah, the guy sounds like he's breaking some news, and it's like,
yeah, I'm breaking this news.
You know, who knows?
It's really, I mean,
the 18-year-old daughter's been separated from her mother.
And by the way, according to the law, which I am pretty well versed in now, 18 is the cutoff point. So 18, you're treated as an adult at the border.
Yeah.
So there's this whatever that story was, it was at least partially bullcrap. 18 is the legal cutoff where you are treated as an adult at the border. So that was just disingenuous at best.
Yeah, I don't even know why they had the Chicago clip in there. I think the guy needed to go to Chicago to buy some sausages.
Hey, boss, I'll do the report from Chicago.
I'll do the report from Chicago. What?
All right, off you go.
Why?
Yeah, do the report from Chicago.
All right, let's go. Number 2.
And tonight, an impromptu protest outside of this facility here in San Diego, with another protest scheduled, an even larger one in the town of Tornillo, Texas, on Father's Day, where a tent city has sprung up faster than residents there expected. Now, just to put things in perspective, Tornillo is a small town. About 1,500 people live there. And when this tent city is up and running at full capacity, it'll mean that a fifth of the entire town's population will be children separated from their families. Blake?
And there is nothing better. And this has been a no agenda staple, actually. Nothing better than abusing kids in the media. It's been done. Well, remember was it not the Saddam Hussein's royal guard who came into the hospital and threw the children out of the incubators onto the ground and stomped on them?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the classic. Well, I mean, this has been going on forever, but yeah, and that was all totally bullcrap.
Yeah, I mean,
it was great theater.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
That's basic. That's been our theme for many, many years. Just as long as you can bring children into the equation in a compelling way, and just if you look at Twitter, even when someone posts one of these pictures, which is clearly from 2014, that's now all widely
the kids
known.
In the cage, they're from 2014.
The kids in the cage,
the
kid who's actually to protest but is looking up, all of these pictures. And I've tracked down where some of those come from. They actually came from Texas. Even though people in the thread will say, "Hey, man, this is from 2014. Or man, dude, that's a Mubarak." People will do that too. Oh God, yeah. But they just keep on going. These horrible people, they'll die in hell, they'll hang. And that's the abuse. That's how everyone gets abused by the situation. Can we go straight into 3?
Yeah.
Far from the real-world consequences is the red meat of immigration politics.
Nice.
Today, President Trump tweeted, Democrats can fix their forced family breakup at the border by working with Republicans on new legislation for a change. Truly. This White House video links an alleged gang murder to rules affecting child immigrants.
The gang member reportedly entered our country through glaring loopholes for unaccompanied alien minors.
One day after he distanced himself from his own administration's zero-tolerance policy that triggered the separations.
I hate to see separation of parents and children.
The president's strategy is to blame Democrats for blocking passage of immigration reforms and border security. But outcry over the treatment of immigrant children could blow back on Republicans. Oklahoma Senator James Langford posted video where he tells a constituent he has a message for the White House.
Is keep families together as much as we can possibly keep families together.
For Republican candidates, immigration is an issue that gets conservative voters to turn out.
Build that wall.
Build that damn wall.
Congressman Dan Donovan has President Trump's endorsement in this month's Staten Island, New York primary. Today, he also had his lawyers' campaign help.
You know I represent President Trump.
Issues like immigration could determine control of Congress. The president's allies, like Rudy Giuliani, plainly argue the president's fate is on the line.
Let's stop the possibility of a ridiculous impeachment, and let's make sure that I don't have to see Nancy Pelosi on television anymore.
President Trump plans to visit House Republicans Tuesday to talk about strategy for 2 immigration bills. The more conservative hardline approach is not likely to pass, leaving open the door for a moderate compromise, which would address the separation of families, would grant legal status to young immigrants known as Dreamers, and beef up border security. It's possible those votes could happen late next week. Blake?
All right. So,
a couple of things. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, a couple of things. One, she says Republican strategy is to da-da-da-da-da. She never says Democrat strategy is to do this.
No, well, no, of course
or
not.
that.
No.
I mean, it's almost glaring.
Well, they both have the same strategy, win votes by abusing children. They both have the same strategy.
That's the base of it, but that's not the way she presented it.
No.
It's just there's a number of things. And they have to, because, again, the Democrats can't focus. They had to go into the B room trailer and pull out the clip of Rudy Giuliani saying, let's don't talk about impeachment.
I know. That was a little off.
It's off the wall. It's right in the middle of this. It's got nothing to do with any. It's got nothing to do with this main story, but they can't resist. And so you take that laundry list we have of all the Trump flaws, and it's just like they can't just stay focused on this one thing, which is, I think, a winner. But they can't do it.
Well, they're getting pretty far, but here's my question, and this, well, the question will remain because we don't have the answers. Who really started this? And it's clear that the zero tolerance policy, which is a policy, it should always be the policy. It's like, I mean, the law is the law, and you're supposed to follow and enforce the law. So okay, you have a zero tolerance policy, fine. I thought you were all about law and order to start with. But then to say, well, because the Democrats put this law in place, the children are suffering until they fix it. Meanwhile, the Republicans have a bill, I think multiple bills going through.
Two of them. Yeah,
going through the process, which will fix this. At the same time, it raises appropriates $25 billion for the wall. So I'm pretty suspicious here that this may not have been a Trump ploy to start with, because I don't think he gives a shit. No, I'm not so sure, John, because he wants.
That's true.
Well, maybe not. He really wants to get the wall done, and so I think someone came along and said, here's a way we can do it. Children.
Well, that's a Pacharnik. What's his name? Your buddy Steve.
Pacharnik?
What?
Pacharnik?
Yeah, Pacharnik. It's like the Pacharnik thesis. You look like you're doing one thing, but you're doing another.
Right. Now, but now let's look at the.
I'm just not buying it. But go on.
Well, so now let's look at the other side. Democrats have this gem, this total gem, which. I'd love to know where it was launched, how it was launched. It's impossible to do that on any of the search engines anymore. It's polluted.
It's very, right.
You might be able to do it on Twitter, but you don't have the right access and the tool. So it doesn't matter. They have this gem where they can show, actual, horrible images. Now, problematic is that pretty much most of the images I've seen to date are ones that come from the Obama administration, where this practice was in full swing, where it was taking place. And I'll explain.
Yeah, they did all this too, but nobody paid attention to it.
Well, that's exactly right. Here's Dianne Feinstein, and her head is gone.
You introduced a bill this week to stop the separation of undocumented parents and undocumented children as they cross the U.S. border.
Do you hear? Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
A lot of Democrats are expressing outrage about how Trump is treating undocumented immigrants. We saw this photo making the rounds on social media. Los Angeles former mayor Villaraigosa tweeted it out. It's actually it's undocumented children in a holding cell, but it's actually from 2014 when President Obama was president. there were a lot of things done to undocumented immigrants that the immigrant community was very upset about during the Obama years that Democrats didn't seem as outspoken about. What do you say to people who say, where was all this activism during the Obama years?
I don't believe that it was nearly to the extent that it is today.
Oh, sure.
And candidly, I didn't really know enough about it at that time to focus on it.
Oh.
I do know enough about it now.
What was her position at the time? Was she not head honcho during the Obama years?
She was well, I know what you mean by head honcho, but she was definitely running a number of committees that should have known about.
She should have known. Yeah, she should have. But yeah, I wasn't paying attention to it because children didn't matter to me then. They matter to me now.
We have had a hearing in the Judiciary Committee. We did have testimony. I know that at least 50 children a day are taken from their parents. And the thing is, they're taken and no one knows what happens to them. Their parents don't know how to find them. And you have now the first person, one of the fathers that died in jail. And I find it just inhumane, callous, and something I never thought my country would do. So it's very worrisome, and we've got to stop it. And so we have written a bill. We have 31 co-sponsors. I hope we'll be able to get it out of the Judiciary Committee. It's been introduced, and it would prohibit the taking of children in this manner, and then it would provide a number of criteria to remove a child, what you'd have to have present.
Okay, so now we know this has been going on for a while, but apparently it's more severe now because more people are crossing the border, which goes contrary to everything I've heard from the Democrats.
Goes contrary to the facts.
To the facts possibly as well, but okay. So children didn't matter. I didn't really have my attention because it's just fucking children. Now it's children. So I dive into this because I want to understand. It's true though. This is exactly right.
Time code down. Time code.
Okay. So I'm thinking, all right. Well, then surely we can find this, this legislation somewhere in the law, and it's interesting when you hear people like Judge Johnson, who came out of the woodworks, to say. Well, actually, I'll let him say it.
Facility that's essentially tents where some children are staying. Is this how it's supposed to work?
Tents.
Well, first, Donna, let's be clear. There is no law that requires the Trump administration to separate children from their parents. If there were such a law, I would know about it. I would have known about it when I was in office, and I would have heard about it if I had tried to enforce it. I have the greatest respect for the Border Patrol agents, customs officers, and immigration enforcement officers who used to work for me. But I object highly to this current practice of separating children from their moms and dads at the border. And it's something that I feel obliged to speak out about.
Oh, yes, to virtue signal about. Now, let's just go right back to Dianne Feinstein. She right there agreed and said, yeah, this was happening to the Obama years, but it was just children. I didn't care about them. Now, Judge Johnson, who was director of Department of Homeland Security during the Obama years, he literally says, I didn't know about it, even though it was taking place. So, okay, maybe you did. But the thing that's most important is him saying, I know of no law. Now, on one hand, it's total horseshit that he knows that this was not being done, but he's kind of right about the law part, and that's where it becomes really interesting in this case. It was the California Democrats in '85 who were horrified by families being put into detention centers after trying to enter the United States illegally, and they really went all out, all in. This is horrible. This can't be. You've got children in horrible circumstances. They're with rapists and murderers, and yeah, they're with their parents, but rapists and murderers, and we have to take care. Please think of the children. And so there was it took like almost a decade for the Flores settlement, so also known as the Flores Agreement, FLORES, to come into play and be enacted. The final settlement took place in, I think it was 85, but then there was a Supreme Court ruling on it in 97, and there was yet another ruling in 2016. And what they came up with is a consent decree. Not a law, but a consent decree, and there's some legality to that, which states very specifically the government is required to release children from immigration detention without unnecessary delay to, in order of preference, parents, other adult relatives, or licensed programs willing to accept custody. If a suitable placement is not available, the government is obligated to place children in the least restrictive setting appropriate to their age and any special needs. Turns out tents are reasonable. And the third part is the government must implement standards relating to the care and treatment of children in immigration detention. So it was because of the children that the Flores settlement came into play by consent decree, because I don't know, maybe they had no time or they're too chicken shit to bring it up and pass some actual immigration or make it a part of comprehensive immigration reform. But when you have a consent decree, which has been signed off on, and with the Supreme Court as one of the parties, there's only two ways this can be, well, in this case, three ways this can be changed. One, both parties consent to changing the consent decree. The Supreme Court, as the only court, could actually overrule this, or you can pass a law, and then this thing will just fall away into nothingness. But to say that they didn't know and that this wasn't happening when it was their idea, the California Democrats in particular, is just an outrageous abuse of children. You are the child abusers.
It's abuse of children. It's also a big lie that they're always complaining about.
And this was a very well publicized, well, I'm sorry, for the uninformed public, who the hell knows, but it was well publicized. There's a lot of information on it. And so, yeah, Jay Johnson, sure, it wasn't a law. If it was a law, I would have known about it. Nah, you know exactly what was going on. You're full of shit and you're virtue signaling and you're a liar. And everybody is just abusing these children for this very, very same point of winning political points and turning the midterm elections in their favor. That's what's sickening. They're
doing a good job.
They're doing a great job, and people are so stupid. They just they see a picture, just freaking out like it's like retarded morons.
Another time code, please.
Oh, it'll be the whole show because I can't. I was reviewing it this morning again. You know, just what people are writing and how they're all in, and you don't have to search very far. Look, I'm a VJ. According to some, I'm a washed up VJ.
Yeah, you're washed up, man.
I should be able. Anybody can find this. Come on, it's not that hard.
You don't want to find it.
Oh my goodness, it really got my blood boiling.
Here's what bothers me: it's the Republicans, because really deep down inside the Republican Party. In fact, I kind of pointed this out in the newsletter.
Yes, yes, you did.
The Republicans, I mean, we have to be realistic about the Republicans. They're, besides being generally useless, they don't like Trump. Probably none of them do.
No.
And the Democrats hate Trump, and the Republicans can't really say they hate Trump, but they kind of hate Trump. And so this guy, he doesn't really have enough allies to go out and pull off some of these, educational necessities, like telling people about the facts of the matter.
Right.
No,
that would be nuts.
And he doesn't seem to care that much. He just has his one or two pitches that he has. Oh, the Democrats could fix it. Is not enough to.
No, that's right. They don't have a meme. Their meme was the Democrats can fix it. But I think even Trump, he's underestimated the power of these pictures. It doesn't matter if it was a picture in black and white, clearly from the 1800s, people would believe it. It's just that. Yeah. And now what's happened since this morning, this, of course, was all architected by Stephen Miller, you see. Stephen Miller. And you can just go on Twitter right now and you just look for Stephen Miller. There are pictures of him side by side with Goebbels, which, of course, was Hitler's PR guy, his propaganda guy. They look kind of the same. Oh, makes sense. This guy, he hates children.
look kind of the same.
Yes. Yes. This is what Slate. The White House seems to be divided amid
Slate, by the way, Washington Post.
Oh, is it a WAPO?
Yep.
Okay. President Donald Trump ended up backtracking. Like his predecessor, the idea of ripping crying children from the arms of their parents simply seemed too cruel. Never mind politically dangerous, but some in the administration, most notably senior policy advisor Stephen Miller, continued to push the idea. Now Miller has emerged as one of the staunch defenders of the controversial move. No nation can have the policy that whole classes of people are immune from immigration law or enforcement, Miller told the Times in an interview. It was a simple decision by the administration to have a zero-tolerance policy for illegal entry, period. The message is that no one is exempt from immigration law.
Miller was one of the guys a year ago when we were seeing who was being targeted to get him to quit or get out of the White House.
Yep.
He was one of the two guys left over that didn't get kicked out by public relations.
Right.
So he's obviously they're retargeting him because he it's doable.
Oh no, of course he needs to be retargeted. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking at right here, Steve. I'm looking at the list of stuff on the Bing It. Stephen Miller, Trump's right-hand troll. An article.
Wait. Can I be? Is the position for left-hand troll open?
I guess.
I'd like
but
to know.
But he's right-hand troll, and it's in the Atlantic, and we should remember that Lorraine Jobs is...
Yes. That was something else I was going to say. I can't remember what it was. Something about how stupid Republicans are. Well, anyway, this whole thing is... It's unfortunate.
No, non-affiliated people, non-affiliated.
Yeah, really independent.
Get out of these two parties. They shouldn't exist.
It's unbelievable.
Dumb and dumber.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how people buy into it is really it is
line and sinker.
It is just it borders on
gotten.
Well, and again,
I think it's gotten worse with social media. Of course.
Well, of course it has, and this is what Professor Ted would say. We're now so messed up in our heads, and social media is not untangling it. It's not.
That's never going to happen.
No, it's not. Cool, man. I think we can move away. I don't have any more on the topic. We'll just see.
No, but since Giuliani came up in the conversation, I do have to play this off-the-wall clip. This was during Sarah Sanders' recent press meeting.
Yeah.
And this weird Rudy question came up. I haven't followed up. I didn't do any research, but I just think it was so odd that this question came up. And Giuliani, by the way, is probably he's the guy that should go. This guy's unless they want him to be a loose cannon. Anyway, play this.
Jim, I'm sorry, you too. I just said, Jim. Rudy Giuliani spent 20 minutes today talking with one of our reporters about his love life and proclaimed that, and I think his words, he's not going to be a priest if he's separated from his third wife. Has this become too big of a distraction to the point where the president would consider going to get another lawyer? And then also on that, he said his soon-to-be ex Judith called the president last week. Can you tell us what they talked about?
I'm not today or tomorrow or at any point ever going to comment on Rudy Giuliani's love life. I will be glad to leave that to you and the reporter that spoke with him. And I'm not aware of a call and don't have any information on that, Jim. Sure.
Yeah. I think Giuliani, the reason he's hanging around and is given so much grace is he's got something. He has something, and I think it pertains to what New York police or FBI have on the Wiener laptop. There's some reason for him being kept this closely for no obvious reason.
Yes, there's no obvious reason. He's kind of a clown. He's saying stupid crap all the time. I think it's an embarrassment. Bringing up the impeachment thing is right, like working for the wrong side.
Yeah, what's up with that?
But yeah, he just hangs around and he claims to. It may be part of a scheme.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
Yeah, he's a smoke. Yeah, but he's a no, not that part. Not that he has anything on anybody, but just that he can be he's like a smoke screen. He draws attention to himself. It's almost as though it's a Roger Stone kind of a play. You have some guy just
could be
shouldn't be there
doing
stuff.
Yeah, it could be. Well,
I really do think that Roger Stone right now is at work.
Well, he's in play. He's got his book out. He's doing interviews, so he is around. So he may be. I don't know. We did get another NBC fatality.
And that's the target, NBC.
Yeah, and that was Chris Hardwick.
Right.
Yeah, you had the same response I had. Who?
No, I know. I've seen him. I can kind of visualize the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know the basics of how they got him kicked out.
Oh, well, this Chloe Dykstra.
Oh, the Chloe Dykstra thing. Right.
Now,
yeah.
Do you know any more about this? Because I really don't know that much about this particular
I looked into
story.
it. Now that you mentioned it, I did look into it. There's no clips available. Chloe Dykstra wrote if you look at her, the problem I have with Chloe Dykstra is something she posted on Twitter. She is describing, it seems to me, in her Medium article, something of an S&M relationship.
Well, definitely a slave master, yeah.
And she has a picture on her Twitter of her in some sort of a bondage outfit.
This is what you do so well. You go in and you look at people's media, like, let me see this girl's pictures. Let me take a look at this. Oh, yes, what have I found here?
Well, you can get a lot from that. I've said it a million times that if you're going to do due diligence on people, you should go to their Flickr account.
Right. Well, that's kind of outdated.
See if they're plastered in public. Anyway, so she had this one picture. I looked over her Twitter feed to see if I can figure out what was going on because I had this sense she was hitting this. This guy was a hit job against this character, and it was very vague. The Medium article never mentions his name.
No. But I think it was from podcaster to CEO of his own corporation, which, of course, is the opposite of what I did, which I think is interesting. I went from big shot CEO to podcaster.
Yeah,
Swimming upstream as always. That's right, everybody.
Maybe you should give Chloe a call. Anyway, so she's in this S&M outfit with the line, "Who dis?"
Oh.
And so I'm thinking, what is this?
Well, that's also appropriating black culture, which is wrong prima facie.
And I read that piece, and it just seems like it reminds me of that Marv Albert thing where he had this relationship with some dominatrix.
Oh gosh, didn't he get fired over that?
Yes, he got fired. He finally got back into the business, by the way.
He was out for a decade at least.
He was out for a while.
That was a good story. I'm sorry, because I just kind of remembered that. It was shocking at the time. Marv Albert, like a kinky freak. It was like, no,
ridiculous.
This is not right.
And in some of these S&M relationships, there's a moment where
the experience speaks.
No, I'll tell you where I get most of what I consider foundational. There was a special that KQED did about 20 years ago on The Scene with a person who was analyzing it, a psychologist, saying that in reality, in one of these relationships, and people probably know somebody that might or might not be in one, is that the submissive is actually the dominant. In all situations, but you end up with this punishment scenario, and where the way I would perceive this, having read her article and then looking at this character, and then some of the nonsense that she puts in the article, that's like, well, does that really make any sense?
She basically had the upper hand all along. Is that what you're saying?
I would say that either she was the dominant, but whatever the case was, this article was punishment designed to get him in trouble and fired.
Yeah.
And would you see that it was like, I get to almost the sense that he was supposed to be this shows up in the Mr. Robot's storyline too, with that crazy sick couple.
It also shows up in Billions. This is very similar.
Well, the way I'm seeing it is that this guy was given the position of being her dominant half, and he couldn't really keep up. She was such a masochist. She needed.
So this is actually a case of Me Too gone wrong.
Yeah, something like that. But it was just very. Let's put it this way: if anyone wants to read her essay, which is you have to kind of dig to find it, she won't even link to it. It's very fishy. But then when you start to take a meta view of it, hello, Roger Stone. because the whole Roger Stone impetus seems to me, let's just keep pounding on NBC people. You work for NBC, you're a target.
Now, anyone coming into this fresh or hearing this out of context of who you and I are will, of course, out us as being the most unbelievable misogynist ever, blaming the victim, shaming the victim. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
So
you're wrong to think that. In fact, we're analyzing the reality of a situation.
Right.
And this particular one, getting this guy booted, even though his affiliate, he wasn't a strong NBC. The connection with NBC was not like some of the people that have been, like Matt Lauer.
Right. No, that's true. What I always like is that, and I think you tweeted another example of this, that when something like this happens, companies often wipe this person from everything. So you're no longer a co-founder of the company. You're just gone. You still just like as if you didn't exist. It's a futuristic version of a Black Mirror. What kind of maybe it's the current version of a Black Mirror episode where you're wiped.
It's a Stalinist. It's a Stalinist thing where you cut somebody out of the picture.
You're wiped from the entire history of the corporation.
Yeah,
we're living in a lot of that. It's just you know what So Tina and I were walking on the street the other day. And I'm observing because of OTG and my phone doesn't do anything unless it's a text message, which is few. Usually it's you saying, "Hey, here's the newsletter." And I'm just looking at the people hunched over, walking with on their phones, looking at their screens. I see
it's unbelievable.
A million of these scooters parked, these little motorized scooters parked everywhere. And I remember my favorite book. One of my favorite books, Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. And I owned Metaverse.com back in in the early 90s. If you've not read Snow Crash, it's a science fiction book about the future. And this is an 80s book. And boy, how close it's come. Where the reality of the world is everyone is in their home or their office, and they put on a VR headset and they go into the metaverse. And the metaverse is, I think the incorrect thinking at the time was, Second Life. This is what it is. This is the metaverse. This is what Neil Stephenson meant. But it was much more sophisticated in the book. And in fact, there was a virus called Snow Crash, and that's why the book is called Snow Crash. But he describes the outside world, outside the metaverse, as the only thing on the street are delivery people on electric scooters and FedEx. And that's it. No one else is on the street because there's no reason to be on the street unless you get one of the autonomous driving cars to take you from location 1 to location 2, which is, of course, Uber, the Bird bikes, and, FedEx is what it is. It's FedEx, but now we also have Amazon delivery. And this scourge of these bikes and these scooters, particularly in Austin, is the arrogance and the just unbelievable brazenness of Silicon Valley companies who are flooding markets. We now have 5 different bike rental companies, of which only one has racks. All the rest, you just park the bike, you just throw it down wherever you want, because don't worry, we have GPS on them. They pay people to pick it up at night and put them back in strategic locations. These Bird scooters have to be picked up during the night. People charge them at their homes. That's how they try to get some economies of scale. But none of this is legal. None of this has been clear. They just dump it into a city. Just dump it. And of course, everyone gets all addicted to it. It's the Uber model. Dump that shit on the cities. Let people get addicted to it. Get kicked out. Have them screaming, "Please come back to me." But in the meantime, this is really rude. It is. It's just rude. I mean, and people they're riding on sidewalks. Not enough of them are getting hit on the road, which is what really needs to happen. We need some people dying before we can get rid of this plague. It's just this plague, which leads me into.
Well, they're confiscating them in San Francisco.
Oh, they should be.
Yeah.
These things are, I mean, and there's so much money going into this. These guys are now valued at $1 billion.
I don't get it.
And the model doesn't work because they're still paying between $10 and $15 per electric scooter to have someone pick it up and recharge it, depending on how difficult it is to find it. If you had to get these scooters And then at the very end of the night, they have a truck that goes around for all the scooters people didn't find. It's almost like a Pokemon hunt. And kids making good money doing this, by the way. But it'll never last because it's not a sustainable model. And they're going to get kicked out because it's dangerous. And the motorized vehicle belongs on the street, and then it needs to go through a couple of checks to make sure that it's okay to be on the street. And it's not safe. I had these things in 1999 in Amsterdam. And the press was out there. I was zapping along that was called the Zappy. I was blasting along the canals. And within a week, there were the cops. No, that we're confiscating this rule. Not going to happen. And they kept them off the streets for a decade until they finally someone went back and tried to get some legislation. And the same went for Segways. Those were also immediately banned. But the arrogance of these Silicon Valley companies to do this is irksome to me. And that kind of brings us to another Silicon Valley story, which I saw you have a clip of it, so I'll let you start. And I only have
a bunch of clips of it.
I only have an opinion on Elizabeth Holmes, but I would like to hear what you've got.
Well, I'm going to start off by doing this backwards. Elizabeth Holmes was this the reporter who wrote for the Wall Street Journal considers her a scammer. But she was defended, and she got lots of money from all kinds of. Tim Draper was a good example of this, by the way.
Well, and let's just go back and say that she has now been indicted on 10 counts of wire fraud, and she's going to jail. She's going to jail.
Well, let's hope so. But let's play the local story then. Elizabeth Holmes' local report.
She was once billed as the next Steve Jobs. Theranos' medical technology was supposed to be the future of medicine. Instead, tonight, Elizabeth Holmes is facing 20 years in prison tonight. Hear from those who saw the warning signs. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Amma Dates.
And I'm Dan Ashley. Elizabeth Holmes walked out of a South Bay court today charged with defrauding investors, doctors, and patients.
We have team coverage tonight. Let's begin with ABC 7 News reporter Amanda Del Castillo. Amanda.
Dan, we know that Holmes was once touted as Silicon Valley's sweetheart, but today she and a former company president had to face some serious charges regarding wire fraud, 11 to be exact. We were there the moment that Holmes walked out of the federal courthouse.
Anything at all you want to say? This is impacted. Anything that you want to say?
Before walking out of the federal courthouse in silence, Holmes and Ramesh Balwani both pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 9 counts of wire fraud.
He pled not guilty because he is not guilty.
Outside of the courtroom, Jeff Coopersmith only representing and speaking on behalf of Balwani. Federal prosecutors say he and Holmes were behind a multi-million-dollar scheme to defraud investors and another to dupe doctors and patients. Prosecutors accuse the pair of knowingly lying about the accuracy and reliability of some of their products, technology that was said to be a cheaper and more efficient way of doing blood tests.
Put his heart and soul into this. He had his own family tested at the Theranos lab.
A busy lab then Vice President Joe Biden visited back in 2015. This video shows both Holmes and Biden touring the Newark facility. Today, though, the only sign Theranos even exists in the building was this one, posted on its front door giving contact information for Theranos. And after calling the listed numbers, one man identified as a Theranos employee, he says that he wasn't shocked at today's courtroom development. In fact, he actually complimented Holmes on her passion for her work. We know that the two, Holmes and Balwani, are expected back in court in August. If convicted, the two can each spend up to 20 years behind bars.
I'd just like to say about the media that this is an outstanding example of the tech press, and it is really the so-called tech press, doing a disservice. Because just as this report stated, Wired magazine, but also, all tech reporters for the New York Times and for Forbes and every blog everywhere were jizzing all over Elizabeth Holmes. And she just looks like Steve Jobs, the wunderkind. The medical press were onto it. In fact, the Wall Street Journal, the medical reporter, he was early on, he was saying, no, there's something wrong with this. This is bull crap. And there was a lot of reporting on it, but still, the actual technology press in all its forms, and the M5M as well, were all so great, which they always do. And now, Boy, we're so surprised because and many of these blogs and these tech press things, they're all funded by VCs. That's who's paying for it. So they're just doing their master's bidding. So, the reporting is shit. And here we are. A whole bunch of rich people got duped. And now they're going to send this girl to jail. All right. I'll have more later.
Well, let's play a couple of things. The thing that got me about her is her voice.
Yeah. She's from a very rich family, or a formerly very rich family.
Well, she's developed this phony voice. Everybody comments on it because apparently she's slipped out of it once in a while and actually talk normally. It's a fake baritone that she can barely sustain. And I'll say this because when I was doing the tech grouch and the tech hippie when I was at Mevio, these characters.
What? That was you?
And I'd have to do these voices, and it's hard to sustain the voice.
Give us a tech hippie.
If it's nothing you can do all the time, like the mice. I have a bunch of voices I do. Obviously, you heard them on the show, but I can usually do them in short bursts. But to just keep it going like she has to do makes it very difficult. But when you hear it first time out of the blue, now Kramer kind of creamed all over this because he loved her, and then he had to back off a little bit once the
I'll
journal.
say, yeah.
But here's what it sounds. Here's her voice out of the blue sounds like. This is Kramer and EH. Play this clip.
Yeah, this is Jim Kramer from CNBC.
Lately, one of the most exciting privately held companies in Silicon Valley has come under fire. I'm talking about Theranos. That's the diagnostics company with the ultra-fast finger prick blood testing technology that's aiming to upend the entire traditional healthcare establishment by making it easier, less expensive, and much less uncomfortable for you to get tested for a whole range of conditions. For the last few years, Theranos has been viewed as a revolutionary company. Its CEO has been heralded as next Steve Jobs. The company's been valued as much as $9 billion in its most recent round of fundraising. But Theranos also has its critics, and just this morning, the Wall Street Journal ran a pretty scathing article about the company, alleging that the company's proprietary testing devices may be inaccurate, and basically accusing Theranos of deceptive practices. The Journal cites a former employee who claimed that of the 240 tests offered by Theranos, only 15 are actually performed on the company's proprietary Edison diagnostic machine, vast majority of the rest being done on traditional lab equipment. The article was pretty brutal. But here on Mad Money, we know something. We know that there are two sides to every single story, which is why I think it's important that we speak to Elizabeth Holmes, the founder and CEO of Theranos, who's coming to us this afternoon from Boston, where she's attending a meeting of the Board of Fellows at Harvard Medical School, to give her a chance to answer the charges raised in the article. Ms. Holmes, welcome back to Mad Money.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Elizabeth. I have to tell you, in all my years, I can't recall a private company.
Wow,
okay, you can stop that.
You know
clip.
what that sounds? It sounds like. Yeah, I can do it. Hold on, let me get my.
Well, now you heard.
Yeah, I heard it.
It sounds like Kermit the Frog.
It sounds like her mouth is full of vape liquid. Or
you got
vapor.
something going on with this. Kind of now that was you heard what she said. Well, thank you very much. That's not the clip I wanted you to start with, but you can go to this clip. This is the 9-second clip I'm looking for. Kramer and EH.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes,
it's okay. It was a clip I wanted to play anyway.
All right, Tim.
Wait, this is defending.
Kramer and EH.
I got you. It's a little labeled funky.
Where she's attending a meeting of the Board of Fellows at Harvard Medical School to give her a chance to answer the charges raised in the article. Ms. Holmes, welcome back to Mad Money.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
That's not it either. What you play was the long version of that. The way it was, she says...
preview early? Is that the one you want? No, that's not 9 seconds.
No, that you just played the 9-second one.
Okay.
Try preview early. No, they got that, but not the archive. To 124.
I'm sorry, what are you asking me to do?
I've got Kramer and Holmes preview early archive, and Kramer, which is 5 minutes. Which shouldn't be on your list. Kramer
No, I think that's what you gave me. Hold on.
No, I may have taken the archive off the product I shipped.
Yes.
But try Kramer and Holmes preview early .mp3.
Okay.
This is where he fawns. This is before the Wall Street Journal article. This is what we could expect.
Let's take a closer look with Elizabeth Holmes. She's the founder and CEO of Theranos, who also happens to be the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. Ms. Holmes, welcome to Mad Money.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. All right, Elizabeth.
So she says the exact same wordage.
You know, if you hadn't told me, I would have thought you spun it down. Thank you. It's good to be here. I would have thought you had spun her voice. Thank you. It's
well,
good
here
to be
I got one more of these clips, and I don't want to belabor this. But here she is at TechMed. This is Holmes at TED Med. She's giving us her TED speech, which is filled with Silicon Valley bull crap. Oh, we want to empower the people. We want to do this. It's a very short clip. I didn't take the whole speech.
Nice.
But the whole 18 minutes is all this garbage, the Silicon Valley garbage. But watch the way she speaks. To maintain that voice, she has to kind of swallow, and she can only maybe do 2 words. And then she kind of gets herself together, and then so a pregnant – I left all the pauses in because she can't say more than 3 words. Sometimes she can maybe blurt out 4. And this is what – and if this doesn't tell you something's wrong, I don't know what does.
It is a great honor to be here. I feel very humbled speaking in front of all of you, and there's so much I have to learn from the people in this room. So what I can talk about is what I know and what I believe, which is that
nice
one of the incredible things about this country is that we can and do solve policy challenges through creativity and innovation. And I've always believed that when people find what they're truly passionate about and they make a decision to do that and stick with that no matter what, they can build great things.
Wow. She should be in jail for that. Just that alone. Now, it's odd because her great icon hero, Steve Jobs, who she named one of her products iPod after, the iPod. And she had the Jobsian shit on. But Jobs had a much higher voice.
Yeah.
He did.
The guy that wrote the book on her, which just came out, he says that she worshipped Jobs so much that she adopted his scheduling, she adopted his clothing, his attire, everything she could about Steve she just copied to a real sick extent. But what are you going to do?
All right, what else you got?
Well, it is amusing, I have to say. I do have the Holmes thank you on an ISO if you want to play that just quickly.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. Let me just.
All right. Wait. Here, let's play. I don't know that first one you played, but I think
that was it's still racked. It was over 8 minutes, and it was Kramer and Holmes after Wall Street Journal. That's that was what you meant to title archive, probably.
And that's the one that you played first.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you played the other one because there's one more thing about her.
Yeah, it's the local report too.
Oh, right. Let's finish with local report, too.
Holmes dropped out of Stanford and started Theranos in 2003. It became the hot startup in 2014 when Holmes was featured in several national publications. One even called her the next Steve Jobs.
As investors flocked to Theranos, its value soared to $9 billion that year. Holmes parlayed the success and was one of the main speakers at a TED Talk in San Francisco in 2014.
The right to protect the health and well-being of every person, of those we love.
And by the way, this is on her part totally calculated to sound like a complicated, introverted leader. This completely fabricated this.
Is a basic human right.
Things started to unravel, though, in October of 2015 when a Wall Street Journal investigation questioned the accuracy of those testing devices.
By early 2016, Theranos was laying off employees. Holmes was banned from the labs, and the company had its license revoked.
The Wall Street Journal story was the work of one reporter who had spent 3 years looking into the company.
We spoke to him today about his investigation. ABC 7 News reporter Cornell Bernard joins us now with some of the insight into what was really going on at Theranos.
And Dan, it is quite a story. Reporter John Carreyrou says many at Theranos tried to stop the story from going public. He says the scandal put patients' lives in danger.
She refused to stop over-promising to investors.
Pulitzer Prize-winning Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou isn't surprised Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes now facing federal fraud charges.
All right.
Now, I got to, before we finish, I do have the one thing that is the funniest clip.
Okay.
This is the one guy who's refused. He still stands by her side.
It's Tim Draper, of course.
Our buddy Tim Draper over here.
Who we know, who's kind of a funny, jolly, wacky kind of guy.
I like Tim personally.
He's like Anthony Robbins with some comedian.
He's a goofball, but
he's a goofball.
Draper's also a goofball. He does when he gives he gives little speeches and he does a rap tune at the end.
Yeah, he's a let's get social kind of guy.
Yeah, totally. So here he is on CNBC. Everybody's jaw has dropped as he starts talking, by the way, when he starts going into this. It's 2 minutes, but it's Tim defending her and defending the Silicon Valley ethos, claiming the government's out to get the entrepreneurs. And although he's a Democrat, it's a lot of this doesn't make a lot of sense what he's saying, but he's saying it anyway. Here we go.
All right. Tim, the last time that we spoke with you a couple of years ago, you roundly defended Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos. The SEC has now accused that company of massive fraud. You said people were just going after her because she was a woman. She was the victim of a witch hunt. You suggested the Wall Street Journal guy who uncovered all this was incompetent. Are you willing to admit that you were wrong about this one?
Absolutely not. I feel that we have taken down another great icon. This woman
icon of what?
Came to me when she was 19 years old, and she said, I'm going to transform healthcare as we know it, and she got bullied into submission. And I think this has been this is what America's made of. America is made of greatness, of people who do extraordinary things. Are you talking at the same time I'm talking?
$900 million went into Theranos. Investors believe
and
people
look what
like
she
you who
did.
said
She
you've known
created
her
an amazing opportunity.
It's worthless. Amazing opportunity. The
technology
it is now,
she
but
claimed
you can't, to have invented didn't exist.
Wait, why is it worthless? It's worthless because this writer was like a badger going after her, like a hyena going after her, and then it became a bigger and bigger thing. I mean, this was a startup,
so big,
and it was a great vision, and it was a great
being
technology.
A massive fraud. Tim, the SEC has charged this as a massive fraud.
I think you missed the entire point. This was, if all she had to do was, say this was a beta or whatever, and all of us would be using it, we'd be loving it, but it was...
Sure, but she didn't. That's her fault.
She's going up against some very powerful people in the drug companies, the AMA, the FDA, all these people. She's transforming healthcare. Somebody goes in and tries to transform healthcare, they're going to get attacked in a lot of different directions, and she was. And this is one of the cases where the entrepreneur was defeated.
Interesting. Now, here's how that is an interesting statement by Draper. And I think that the way most investors, and that's what I want to focus on, what most investors saw is a great idea because, it's creating a better mousetrap because, giving blood is certainly for people like me. I get all woozy and I don't want to do it. Hold my hand, press my head down. I don't feel good. It'd be fantastic. All you need to do in typical Silicon Valley Draper think is just throw enough money at it to miniaturize the shit, and then it'll work. And you've already got the brand, you've got the story. And I think that they were rushing to make that happen. And this is where I look at this a little differently. And remember, I started with these assholes, filling up our streets with these bullcrap bikes and scooters. First of all, Holmes herself comes from what used to be one of the big rich families in America. And this is one of the families that kind of squandered that wealth. And that started really with her great-grandfather when the wealth started to go away. And they, if you look at her history, they just did dumb things and, lost their money. But there was always this hope, this family hope that, eventually we'll bring it back. And then we had Elizabeth, who dropped out of Stanford at 19. What is that, freshman?
Yeah.
Freshman.
Freshman.
Her first investor, do you know who her first investor was?
I thought it was Draper.
Rupert Murdoch provided the seed funding. Draper was the first VC. Rupert Murdoch, who loves him some young chickie. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I can see.
Well, that's what Carrie Rue says. Carrie Rue says that she could work the old men.
Yes, so she worked Rupert, and she got her seed funding. And with Rupert's name and the seed funding and a good idea for a better mousetrap, she went to Draper. Draper sees this, goes, yeah, okay, the more money we throw at it, we'll get there eventually. Then the big VCs start piling on. Then they start compiling the board, which included Henry Kissinger, Colin Powell, even our very own Secretary of Defense, Mad Dog Mattis, was
Mattis
on the board. But
all old men, by the way.
Yes, and I have some standing in this area because I went to some of the same investors. Some of them invested in my company. Now, over the course of 10 years, where we essentially promised the same thing. We got sidetracked, and there was all kinds of issues. We made mistakes, and it turns out you can't monetize the network. But in essence, there was $50-60 million that went over a 10-year period, which we did pretty well by providing a lot of employment for people and basically employing people for quite a while, although losing money or barely breaking even. And, you have to keep going back to the well. And then at a certain point, you'll say, hey, this is just not working. It didn't go that way in this case because all of these guys know you can throw money at the problem and then you get the board and you get enough momentum and they see how it works. And they've done this in, I think, many previous case, certainly in Silicon Valley. If you have the right idea, you have enough money, then you can probably get ahead of the competition. But these venture capital investors, what? You want an entertainment company in Los Angeles or New York? No, it has to be here in San Francisco so we can keep our eye on it and come to the office. What do you think the 19-year-old got? Or by the time she got her investment, she was in her early 20s. Now, this is completely overseen. You've got to go to Sand Hill Road every single week. You got to do your meeting. You got to explain, show your numbers, show what's happening. These people knew. These investors, they can't stand that the Wall Street Journal, this guy who I think is, a real journalist, he stayed on this
two-time Pulitzer Prize winner.
He sat on this story and he kept hammering at it for 3 years, and they tried to cover it up. The investors, not her, the venture capitalists were covering it up for their limited partners and their venture funds. Everything's great. All the press is great. Forbes magazine, article after article after article. These Silicon Valley assholes completely are going to send this girl to jail who has a personality disorder that she needs to be in therapy from her family background and how she was abused by these old men to be Steve Jobs. Hey, baby, don't worry. We'll take care of it. We'll get you there. And they turned around and they screwed her. They're sending her to jail, and they are trying to get away from their culpable liability for losing money from their limited partner investors. That's what this is about. She's being thrown to the wolves. I've had a complete disdain for her from day one. Like, what are you doing? But now I feel bad for her because these guys won't take responsibility. That's what's going on here.
Well, I like the analysis. It's a kind of a slam.
Kind of.
I think a lot of the guys, I'm going to take a little exception to some of it because the board, I believe, was stupid. And I don't know if they knew anything. I mean, those board meetings, I don't see Mad Dog Mattis. I've been to these
board meetings
I've been to board meetings. I know what they're like, and I know how they say, don't write the menace down. Don't say that. Don't say this. Don't let her in here. We know all the tricks they use in Silicon Valley.
The board.
Limited. You look at the menace, there's nothing. We had a meeting today.
The board is simple. You just lie to the board. But the VC, they knew what was going on. That meeting is not the board meeting. The board meeting is a circle jerk. Hey, everybody, we're going to be rich.
They must have had some idea what was going on because a lot of the major league investors wouldn't put a nickel into this thing. They saw it was a scam. I include John Doerr. In fact, a lot of these guys are pointed out, and because the good VCs asked her what it was that she was doing that was different, and she wouldn't tell them.
And by the way, I'm not going to give John Doerr a pass, even though he was not in this one. This guy, he's the king of doing this kind of shit. Sorry.
Well, he apparently has. Okay, I'm not going to argue against that, but apparently he has his limits.
Yeah, crazily he does. He does have it. Yeah, amazing. The guy has his limits. Anyway,
and this was the limit.
Yeah, but I would love to see, because these VC companies, it's not fun to go through that process. Certainly not when you're. I mean, I had Ron Bloom, and he's a dick when it comes to this, and he really fought very hard, and he kept a lot of the company for us for a long time. But in general, you wake up one day, your company's public, and you got like 1.5 million bucks. Oh, that was great, my company.
After 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, the thing Draper said is interesting. Carreyrou says the whole thing came apart because it was Silicon Valley in the wrong business. And Draper said, well, if she'd called it a beta, they'd still be in business and they'd be still collecting money.
Yeah, that's probably true. But there was pressure. There was pressure. There was pressure from the board to show some because we had negative articles. The VC knew what was going on. And like, shit, we got to show that this is not true. Hey, where's our PR? Where's our press? And then they concocted a scheme. And you're going to tell me the VC wasn't in on that? Those guys, they should be in jail.
Well, that's probably true in general. But he went on, and he did kind of hint about, which is the belief in Silicon Valley. They all believe this, by the way, and you know it, is that if you have an idea that makes some sort of sense, but it doesn't work at all,
you're golden. You're in.
You can make it work eventually because the idea is sound. The vision is right. And that's what he said about her. She had vision. The vision was right. All we need to do is throw more and more money at it, and it'll come around.
And what Draper does in an offhanded way is condemn this Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, 2-time winner, by saying he's complicit with the pharmaceutical industry to write hit pieces on her. That's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah, there's no evidence that guy is that kind of a guy. He just had a good story. He wanted to run with it. And the thing that I would ask the writer, and I may get the opportunity to do this, is why didn't the big boys, LabCorp, and some of these monster testing facilities they make billions testing blood, why weren't they going after her directly? They weren't. I didn't see any evidence.
No.
There were some skeptical articles. There's a few people saying, well, I don't think it can be done, but let's wait and see. Because they knew the way the business works. And he's full of crap, Draper, about, they're out to get her. No, they were going to wait and see if the thing worked out. They would have just bought her.
Yeah, bought her or just replicated it. Simple. Exactly. So, oh boy.
Anyway, it fell apart.
She's going to jail. Sad for her, but she'll find many friends, I'm sure. And she'll look great in orange.
With the voice. With
that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C. Well, the C stands for Kramer's archivist, Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. And in the morning to all boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the Troll Room. Hey, trolls. Good to have you here. That is noagendastream.com, where we do the show live on Thursdays and Sundays. You can follow along, play along. Now, also in the show notes, a synchronized video with the chat. So it's a YouTube video. You can listen to the show and see the chat scroll by in real time as synchronized on these show days. So even if you can't make it to the live chat to the Troll Room, you can do some practice trolling. Yes, you can practice troll. I'd also like to thank let me see. Was it Mike Riley? No, that doesn't make sense. It wasn't Mike.
It's a crazy name.
No, I have it here. I'm sorry. I must have put it wrong. Irritable pre-op transracial.
Yes, is what I said.
Yes, irritable pre-op transracial, who did the artwork for episode 1042, the title of that, Two Dictators. And this was the Obama filter, the Obama obey filter from his campaign poster, only now it had Kim Jong-un on the left, Donald J. Trump on the right, and it said yum yum under Kim and chump under Trump. It just kind of hit the buttons.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. It got a chuckle.
It definitely got. Some people, though, were confused by the artwork, and they were tweeting because whenever I tweet the show, people tweet the artwork is in the tweet. It's like, oh no, you're not calling him a dictator now too, are you? My goodness.
Listen to the show, people.
Yeah, once in a while.
It was a reference to a blooper.
Yep. The two dictators having their meeting.
One of our specialties is
bloopers. Yes.
Bloopers.
Hey, it's a winning formula, people. Bloopers have been doing well on television for decades.
Bloopers are funny.
Bloopers are always good. This is a value for value based program, which means we have no advertising, which means we can freely talk about the medical industry and the venture capital industry. We don't rely on them to fund our podcast. We don't have to think about them spending some money. We have to think about advertisers. No. All we have to think about is the people who produce the show with us. That is you who is listening right now. We call you producers. We treat you like producers, and you do the same for us. That's how the value for value works. We'd like to thank our executive and associate executive producers right up front, just the way Hollywood does it. And here they are.
Well, we start off with, he gives himself his name. He's another semi-anonymous person. Sir Roscoe, Protector Knight of the Great Lakes Watershed. And he contributed 2019 to celebrate 2019, the year.
Wow. That has saved us.
Yeah, because this was a really poor showing today, I would to say. Thank you, Father's Day. And I send a note in, a little long, but for that kind of money, I'll read it twice.
Yes.
Please refer to me as Sir Roscoe. Fuck 2018. The year has been absolute dog shit. Very profane, by the way.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Cover your kids' ears. Bring on 2019. Hence my donation for 2019. If others feel the same way, I encourage them to make a similar 2018 dimes or 2018 nickels donation.
2019, right?
He wrote 2018, but he meant 2019.
He meant 2019, yeah.
First, let me reminisce. Back about show 1007, you had a clip about some animal rights yahoo talking about sticking a hand in a cow's ass to inseminate it. On a show soon afterwards, a listener pointed out that this is the wrong hole. Kudos to the listeners for paying attention and thinking critically to what is being presented instead of being mules.
This is the wrong hole.
Also, kudos to you and Adam for taking that listener feedback and admitting your miss without criticism. That dynamic makes the show unique. And by the way, I agree. Now, because we do mea culpas and we're people telling us we're wrong. Yeah. Now I said that, I will say this. In my younger days, I worked part-time as a dairy milker. I wanted to move up the levels to make more money. So I accompanied another worker who was doing some birthing and inseminating. The birthing was sloppy, but the inseminating, no thanks. It did involve sticking one arm, not just one hand, inside the ass. I think it was to help with placement of the specimen. Regardless, not for me. It was then I decided I already had enough skills and I didn't need to make more money. John, you are correct. Michigan potholes are ridiculous. I like your description of chuck hole instead of pothole, particularly for the big ones where you feel like chucking up your lunch after hitting it. Please give a douchebag for the following. People who don't try to speed up to highway speed upon entering a freeway on-ramp. Douchebag. 2. People who design freeway on-ramps ridiculously short. Douchebag. People who don't know how to turn their car lights on. All the lights, not just the automatic idiot lights during inclement weather, snow, blizzard, fog, and rain. Douchebag. Please give an old-fashioned Pelosi jobs karma for my family. Please give a karma to the producers of the show. I'm not talking only the financial producers. I'm talking about those who provide clips and art. And that Aussie dude is amazing.
Aussie dude. I think it's the drunk Aussie dude.
I think you're talking about Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
With past donations, I did not get the karmic effect I had anticipated. Uh-oh. I think the issue is that I never de-douched myself. Oh. Please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
Well, there you go.
Okay, we're wrapping.
All right.
Keep it up, guys. You're providing a valuable service by encouraging critical thinking. Let's play all the Sharpton, Prompter, and Aussie Dude clips you can at the end of a show, or the show, or end of show. And so all we need to do now is the Pelosi jobs and with Karma.
All right.
And I guess that's it. Oh, you gave him the dedouching?
I did, yes. And Sir Roscoe, Protector Knight of the Great Lakes Watershed, thank you for your courage.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And that was a welcome check. Brian Fraser in Magnolia, Texas, 33838. Still voting. This is my first donation. My boss hit me in the mouth this last January. I look forward. That's nice. I like the bosses getting their employees to listen to no agenda.
Good bosses. Boss of the week.
I look forward to each new show, and I really appreciate the work you guys do. I'm building a new home, so look, House Karma and the Ants jingle.
All right, we'll give you a little bit of the Ants jingle then.
I got ants. I got ants. I don't know if we had ants. We had ant invasion. I was thinking if you desiccated a big pile.
You've got ants, karma.
Onward to Sir Cullen, the friendly fat man. He'd be the first associate executive producer. We have 2 and 2 today. $246.80. A little note here. Sir Colin, the friendly fat man, checking in from Cincinnati for Father's Day. Just wanted to flesh out my donation note since PayPal cut it short. My donation is 4x the $61.70 for Father's Day. I would like wish my brother, 2 brother-in-laws, and above all, my dad, a happy Father's Day.
Right on.
Hooray! I have to thank my father especially. He's been such an unbelievable example to me and my 6 siblings throughout our lives. He worked relentlessly to support us moonlighting for years on top of starting and successfully running his own practice. When he had his practice and running, instead of just taking it easy and patting himself on the back, he, along with my mother, really should start a small school for large families who wanted an education free of the brainwashing and Dimension B drivel at the price people with a couple of kids can actually afford, all while he worked and ran his practice. I cannot imagine what life would be like without him setting the example of not only being a hardworking, smart, rational, responsible man who cares for his family, but the man who steps up and does what he can do to help his community and those around him without thanks and at a great personal cost. So thanks, Dad, for being truly a man apart and for making me the man I am today. There is no way I could ever repay you. I love you, and happy Father's Day, Sir Colin, the friendly fat man.
That's a very nice note.
Very nice note.
And I think, I will say, for all of you dads out there, it's not easy being a dad, especially if you're white. It's hard to be, because your toxic masculinity and all this stuff, and it's hard. But for those privilege. For those of you who are doing the dad thing and you feel good about it, thank you. It's being a dad there's a real job to it.
Yeah,
I may sound a little traditional, old.
Yeah, you're old. You fart.
Yeah, but I appreciate notes like this because that sounds like he has a great dad.
He does. John Donovan, 23338 will conclude our associate executive producers list. He says, retro.38 plus Father's Day shout out to Mutt and Jeff and the best podcast in the 33 universes. From the Baron of Silicon Valley, please give some LG service goat karma for all the dads out there, living and past, who help make Happy Father's Day. John and Adam, also a Happy Father's Day to my dad.
Wait, you're going to the next line. I think I cut off. Help make
Happy Father's Day.
No, I think it's help make me the man I am today.
Oh, I'm on the wrong guy. Yeah, you're right.
You skipped over to the next guy. So he needs his LGY and service goat karma. We've got that.
Yay! You've got karma.
All right, that's our 4 people. And I want to thank them all profusely.
Yes, thank you, because it would have been pretty disastrous for us otherwise. Our executive producers? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy.
Especially after
we
got our crew. We got robbed of our Krugerrands on the previous show. We're in dire straits, people. Thank you. This is the only way the program works, and it's how we've been able to do it for more than 10 years, and you're a part of it. It is your show, and we will thank more of you later on. Father's Day, happy Father's Day shout-outs, a couple, as well as everyone above $50. And reminder that we have another show coming up on Thursday. Please remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
You already got some great deconstruction. You've got the formula. Go out there, propagate it.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up,
just reflecting on the donation segment there, but I know you've seen this or heard of this. It was worthwhile to play the commercial. So this is a commercial. I'm telling you right up front, it's a commercial.
Domino's delivery drivers are experts at handling bad roads. But those roads shouldn't ruin your pizza when you carry out.
Oh, yeah.
So we're doing something about them, starting with this one.
So the commercial is a big Domino's pizza truck going around the country and filling up potholes. And many people have tweeted this to you, John, and they've said, hey, it looks like Domino's is solving one of your biggest pet peeves. Your response, sir?
I think I wish more companies would start filling potholes because their government, a corrupt government, is not going to do it. And in fact, there was a pothole, worst pot. You can look this up on the Twitters, or not the Twitters, but the Bings and the Googles. Worst potholes in the nation. The top 10 pothole cities, 4 of them are in California.
Are they filling any of the potholes in California?
No, there's no potholes being filled here.
Oh,
or chuck holes, as I like to call them.
Well, that's lame. I mean, maybe you should to write into them. We can get a social media campaign going, something going viral. I can see the head. Grumpy old man wants his pothole filled. Wants his chuck hole filled. There you go. Grumpy old Berkeley man wants chuck hole filled. Calls Domino's Pizza by mistake. So, all right.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
Now, I got a note back from producer Sherry Osborne there in Utah. We shook the rain stick on Thursday for Colorado for the fires. It started to rain, and lo and behold, 3 days later, well, actually it was yesterday, torrentious rain all of a sudden in Austin. It just, and right on downtown, and then it let up, came down again, and then it was gone. It always happens with the stick.
Yeah.
And these things are real, and we had some questions about the operation of it, even though we are both fully licensed and trained professionals of the rain stick.
Very few people are.
It's good, just like flying. You want to check ride and you want to brush up on your skills. Dear Adam, as a reminder to your training, to get the full effect of your rain stick, you need to allow the beads to go from one end of the stick to the other. So I'm correct. Like you flip it, let it go all the way down, then you flip it again, let it go all the way down. You were just shaking it like one of those, like the vibro weight, you know.
No. I'm doing the exact same. I don't know where you're getting this from. I'm doing the exact same thing, except I am at the end of the flip. There's a bunch of balls that are stuck at the top, and I'm shaking a little bit to get them all to come to the bottom.
Your balls should not get stuck at the top. Your balls should go to the bottom. Well, then you have a defective unit.
I do not. You could shake yours and you'd find the same thing. You shake your balls.
I'm not going to shake my balls because I don't want it to rain again. Anyway, yeah, she says, and I'm just reading from the manual, all right? Don't kill the messenger. To get the full effect of your rain stick, you need to allow the beads to go from one end of the stick to the other. However, when you were on the road trip through Utah, the rain stick did bounce around a lot, and it did bring rain, big rain. That's a lot different than John's half-assed shakes on Thursday's show. I think that if you're going to shake it 3 times from one end to the other and say where you need the rain to go. By the way, it did rain in Salt Lake Valley Friday. Much love, your rain stick creator and trainer, Sherry Osborne. So we need to state more clearly, I think. Because I'm still getting
where the rain's supposed to go.
Yeah, because there's some of the energy is flow always in Austin. I'm not doing it right or something.
I think that's great.
No, it's not.
It washes the streets.
It brings back the mold. It's horrible. Yeah. See, there was something else in there that I wanted to mention from the donation segment. Where is it? Can't remember. No, I just don't remember.
All right, well, let's go to some offbeat. I got an offbeat clip. This is the one. I'm always amused by these stories of some young 20-something women having sex with a 15 or 16-year-old guy, boy.
Right, boy.
Because it's like, I think I don't know, maybe not so much anymore, but when I was a kid, yeah, I mean, I think most guys would go for it.
I was, that happened to me when I was 16.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, let's play this. This is, and I
went for it, and it was great.
Now, this was a story about a couple of these women in the Bay Area, I think.
John at Dvorak.org, these women, in case you're one of these women.
These types of women in around here. But there's a piece of information at the end of this presentation that they just drop it and they go on to the next story. And I'm like, now I'm curious. Play the sexual deviant girls.
2 women are under arrest in the South Bay accused of having sex with underage boys. Santa Clara Sheriff's investigators say 24-year-old Talia Cisco and 23-year-old Tina Parani had sex with at least 3 high school students who were 15 and 16 years old. Investigators say the women used social media to meet their victims. Cisco was a student teacher at Bernal Middle School when the investigation began back in April.
At this point, we don't have any evidence indicating that there are any victims at the school where one of the suspects was teaching at, nor is there any other victims at this point at the school that the victims were attending.
Detectives seized what they call graphic evidence at the home of one of the suspects. We're told that the women bragged that they were, quote, sexually deviant and that they would, quote, go to hell for the sex acts that they engaged in.
Now, just thinking about this and thinking back to my own experience, which just kind of popped out. I hadn't thought about that since therapy. And looking at the troll room, there must have been 10 guys who went, yep, happened to me, 14, boom, 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 right, one after another. My experience was very similar. I was, in essence, picked up by her, and she was in her late 20s. I was, in essence, picked up by her on the Sosh Net of the day, which was CB radio, which is completely in
for good, buddy. Be right there.
Hey, it's Starlight, I think was her name, her handle. Hey, and I was T-Bird. Hey, T-Bird, do you want to come over and talk to Starlight in person? I was on my moped so fast. It was great until her trucker husband found out about it. That was a little less enjoyable because he threatened to kill me. But I did not see it as being abused. I don't think it hurt me.
You're a victim, man. You're a victim.
I don't think I'm a victim. I don't think it hurt me.
You're a victim. You just won't admit it. Come to grips with it, victim.
I went through I need to go back to therapy now. Oh no. Yeah,
well, at the end of the report, the very end is they consider themselves deviants, and their sexual acts are going to send them into hell. They're crazy. What were these? I'm now thinking there's something out of the ordinary going on here.
Oh, maybe it was more than just hooking up acts, is what you're saying. Maybe it was something.
Yeah, well, I mean,
weird.
If you listen at the end of that report, where they consider themselves sexual deviants going to hell.
Yeah, and who said that?
The girls.
They said women. That. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
We're told that the women bragged that they were, quote, sexually deviant and that they would, quote, go to hell for the sex acts that they engaged in.
Oh, they're a sex cult. Okay. So they were a group? This was a group of gals who were doing this?
It's just 2 of them.
Oh. That's like, that could be Diamond and Spice.
Well, who knows what they were doing, but it sounds like pretty, I don't know.
I think they were joking about that.
Oh, maybe then they have a great sense of humor.
Just kind of think they were joking about it. Speaking of joking, we really didn't follow this very much. I'm gonna see. I thought I might have a clip about this. I I thought I had a clip, but this the Arkady Babchenko, this was the Ukrainian reporter who's with the government.
Yeah, I had a clip in a previous. Unfortunately, I don't know how to find the clip. Maybe Arkady, it might be in there. We did have a clip.
Mm-hmm.
We never played it.
Yeah, and I had. Let's see. Oh, this is yours and mine. Let's play it.
Back from the dead.
Yeah, this is my clip.
24 hours after he was reportedly gunned down, journalist Arkady Babchenko enters a press conference held by the Ukrainian intelligence service, alive and well. His apparent death, an elaborate ruse to expose an alleged Kremlin plot to kill him. Even his wife was in the dark.
I want to apologize to my wife for the hell she has gone through over the past 2 days. Olechka, forgive me, please, but there was no other option.
Relief and incredulity at the TV station where Babchenko had been working in Kiev as the Russian-born journalist made his dramatic reappearance. The joy of Babchenko's return was shared later by the Ukrainian president.
I think millions of people are for celebrating this as your birthday. My heart beat so hard as I watched the reaction in the newsroom. I knew about the operation, but no one else in the administration was aware. I'm certain that it had to be that way. So now we celebrate your birthday again.
Reports that Babchenko had been gunned down outside his Kiev apartment emerged on Tuesday evening. The Ukrainian security agencies said the bogus killing had been a necessary part of a sting operation. They reportedly arrested this man on Wednesday afternoon. He's said to have been paid $40,000 to organize and kill Babchenko in Ukraine. But as fellow journalists toasted the resurrection of their slain colleague, the bizarre incident has set off a war of words between Kiev and Moscow, and wider concern among the international community over Ukraine's fake news ruse.
Yes, fake news indeed, and it didn't get a lot of play. This was actually a Euronews report. Didn't get a lot of play.
It got network play. All the networks covered it.
Right, but not really any far-reaching discussion about it.
No, it ended with the story itself, and all of them had the fake news kicker. I don't know what the point of that was, because it was a sting operation that people put together. You're going to call every one of those fake news. And by the way, they left a couple of factoids out.
Yeah, there's a number of them. Yeah, go ahead.
Which includes the guy who got the $40,000 from who knows where. He hired the hitman. He's the one who hired the hitman. The hitman went right to this writer and says, hey, there's a hit out for you. I'm supposed to shoot you. Yeah. And so then they went to the police and organized a fake. And then when the guy went to collect his money, that's when they arrested this character and then they made a point of being fake news. And then finally, where's the follow-up? What was this guy connected to anybody? Yeah. Was he Putin's pal?
Exactly. Well, so the lack of follow-up is very annoying because there's none of it. There's no follow-up.
There's no follow-up.
Now, first of all, we have to recognize that governments do this. Governments do all kinds of weird shit to get news into circulation for all kinds of reasons, and that's something that you will not be discussed on the M5M, of course. But now let's look at some of the things that, I'm going to take one in particular, AFP, Agence France Presse. I think a pretty reputable news organization.
Yep.
You like them. You know, I think they're pretty decent. They're slanted, a little more, obviously slanted towards French political views. But AFP published a story, never retracted it, never changed it, just deleted it. And so here's a copy of it on archive.org. And there's some interesting facts in here as well. So it says here, he was shot dead in broad daylight. His bodyguard fatally wounded the gunman, who was a Ukrainian citizen and had fought in a volunteer battalion against pro-Russian separatists in the country's east. Kiev alleged he had been recruited by Russia's FSB security service. So if the story, which you didn't hear in that report, but if the story went out that, so here's what we have to think happened, because AFP is reporting this. Where did they get this information from that the guy was killed, he was shot, but then his bodyguard fatally wounded the gunman, who the government immediately said, he was Russia's FSB, he was a spy, Kremlin was out to put a hit on him.
Well, then how does the sting work?
Did they kill? That's my question. Did they kill the guy? Was a guy killed during this phony baloney thing, this setup sting? Or did the AFP just say, thanks for the info, I'm printing it, roll it, boys?
That's a good question. I don't think the guy was killed because I don't think anybody was killed. But
maybe someone, maybe that was the hit. Maybe they did kill someone and just blamed it on him.
Well, again,
yeah,
it was fake news. It was designed for a purpose. I don't consider it unreasonable.
I consider it to be incredibly unreasonable. This is bullshit. This is what spurs on conspiracy theories.
Maybe the whole thing was just a scam.
Yes.
In other words, it was just to give some more bad press to Russia.
Possibly. But it seems
no follow-up.
Yeah.
We don't have a clue of what happened, and it's just ridiculous as there's no follow-up.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's just all speculation. Okay, well, it's bad. Well, we had a situation that just happened in Moscow during the
World Cup.
World Cup.
I don't have the fever.
Right.
Do you have the fever? I don't have the fever. I just don't have the fever.
No,
World Cup fever.
I checked my temperature. I'm fine.
I don't have the World Cup fever yet. I'm just, Holland's not in. USA is not in. I tried getting the fever for Messi with Argentina, but I just don't have it.
So here we have on the network news, we have a short 15-second clip on Russia and the taxi. Play this, and then I want to talk about it.
In Moscow, disturbing video from near Red Square today. A taxi rammed into a sidewalk crowded with World Cup visitors. The driver jumped out of the car and tried to flee the scene, but has since been detained. 8 people were injured, including 2 people from Mexico.
Boom. Done. No more. Was it a terrorist? Was he an Arab? Was he a Chechenian? Why was he a Russian? Was he a Russian? What was this? We don't have any clue. If this happened in Berlin or something, we'd be talking about it for days.
Yeah. Did you see the video?
Yeah, they had a good movie of this guy goes, he's driving his taxi, goes right on the sidewalk, just plows into a whole slew of people.
And then runs and tries to get away.
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't look like, oops, I lost control of the car, but yeah, I love how the crowd went after him though. That was great. Russians you don't want to mess around in Russia. The crowd goes after you.
Yeah.
In America, you go, oh, stand aside.
Yeah. All right. Cover in place. Cover in place.
Drop, roll. Shelter in place.
Shelter in place.
The World Cup has given us a unique opportunity to finally hear something we've been wanting to hear, and that is President Vladimir Putin speaking English. We've always wanted to know how good his English is.
Yeah, you did. You've wanted to know more than anyone.
I would say pretty damn good.
You can get to know Russia, a unique country with a long history and a rich culture. Not bad at all.
I think his English is pretty good.
It's not bad. It's
not bad at all. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. So he speaks English.
More importantly, he understands English.
Yeah, definitely.
So when he's in one of these meetings and they're asking him something in English, he's getting the nuance, and then they translate it to Russian, and he knows what they actually asked instead of what they translated.
Let's do a little NOCO, which is Millspeak for North Korea, apparently.
It's Newspeak.
It's Newspeak. I'm sorry. Not Millspeak, it's Newspeak. What have you been learning what have you learned, bro?
What have I been learning?
Yeah, what have you been learning over the past couple of days?
I have kind of not followed it. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a lot of blather at this point. People are yakking away. Chuck Schumer, is saying it was a bad idea to even talk to these guys. I do have one thought, which is that when, Trump, and I think rightfully so, takes credit for being the first president, ever to have the guts to go over there or go meet with the guys, because they could have killed him. Yeah. They could just put a suicide bomber in there and kill him. But this is not because of this is really kind of a Trump going rogue, because I think the intelligence agencies and the military have done everything they can to keep a president from ever meeting up with those guys so they could sell more arms.
Yeah. And keep an eye on China. So
yeah, well, we got lots of ways of keeping an eye on China, but
so a lot has been said about this video that Trump showed.
Showing the hotels and the
it was more like a movie trailer with imagine a world where you don't give up your nukes, you will die. This will be horrible. We will kill you. Imagine a world where you go into the condo business with me. It'll be great. Tourism is up. Fantastic. That was kind of the video, which is to me a very appropriate pitch from a guy like Trump to a guy like and I'm sure he pitches to everybody with beautiful montage stuff and showing how great your building's going to be. I mean, this is what you do as a developer. That's what you do in a pitch. You put together a great video, and I think it's a very novel way of doing it. Some response to that in a moment, but first, a video created by the New York Times, who lay down some smacking facts on us in a beautiful composition that we've seen it before, but now completely gives you prediction of the decade.
This massive show of North Korean force is meant to inspire postcards, not paranoia. Troops and construction workers gathered in June to celebrate a new sprawling tourist destination on the coast of Wonsan, about 2.5 hours from Pyongyang. But Wonsan is known for more than sand beaches and sunshine. The North Korean regime runs an airbase in Wonsan, and it's from here that it planned to launch missiles capable of striking U.S. military targets in Japan and Guam. Live fire drills were conducted here as recently as 2017. That didn't stop President Trump, a former real estate developer, from spotting the potential.
Whenever they're exploding their cannons into the ocean, right? So I said, boy, look at that. Wouldn't that make a great condo behind? And I explained, I said, instead of doing that, you could have the best hotels in the world right there.
Kim Jong-un was already on the case. In his 2018 New Year's address, he made those beach condos a priority. Satellite images and other photos reveal that the coastline has been under heavy construction since January. Even at night, we see how these two missile launch pads have given way to rows upon rows of beachfront buildings. Here on the left, we see the beach lined with artillery for military drill in 2017. And on the right is the same strip of land in 2018. Construction of a tourism destination is in full swing. The project has at least 150 buildings, some as high as 12 stories. Pyongyang said that the tourist zone should attract at least 1 million visitors per year. But in a country synonymous with prison camps, purges, and extreme poverty, it is unclear where these tourists will come from. Yet the hope seems to be that condos and cabanas will get the cash flowing. During a visit to North Korea in May, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Americans could help with that.
Here's what this will look like. This will be Americans coming in, private sector Americans, not the U.S. taxpayer, coming in to help build out the energy grid, to work with them to develop infrastructure.
And that same week, photos of Kim visiting the construction site were published. The North Korea of flashy skyscrapers and shiny holiday resorts that Trump showed Kim in this inspirational video at the Singapore summit might still be a way off.
A new world can begin today, where the doors of opportunity are ready to be opened.
But if Kim gives up bombs for beaches, it might be time to reach for sunblock instead of sanctions.
So, the New York Times has validated your theory.
Yep.
It was not just a theory, it was a prediction. It came years ago. You said they really just want to be a tourist destination, and here's the New York Times reporting on just that. And at the No Agenda show, I think in general we celebrate whatever happened, however that went down. This is all very recent development. We were not aware of this beach building, as far as I know. I hadn't heard about it, about these condos, and they're taking out military installations to build, condos and cabanas, beaches instead of bombs. We celebrate this. This is fantastic. It looks to me like there was a long, long game on this. They had the guy set up, and it's already in play. And you know what? I want my spot in North Korea. I need some land over there. This is going to be a great place.
I've said this before. That presentation they do once a year, and they have the world's largest soccer stadium in North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
It holds 220,000+ people. And they do this big presentation at the end of the year celebrating the country in some way, shape, or form. And they have all these people come out there dancing, singing, and doing all kinds of circus acts. And the only famous person I know that saw it is Madeleine Albright. Saw it when she was during
the bearded lady.
She was she was raving about it. And you've seen movies of it. They showed some, you get hints of it. They could get $1,000 a head. I'd pay $1,000 to see this thing.
Yes.
That's the kind of money they could be bringing. I mean, obviously, this mostly filled with the locals and local celebrities and North Koreans, but they could probably sell 100,000 tickets out of the 225 for $1,000 a head. Do the math on that for a few $1 million in the bank.
Yeah. But if you see the video, that beach looks really nice. You don't think of a beautiful beach when you think of North Korea, because that's not how you're programmed. But when you see this video, and it's on the New York Times website, they produced it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fantastic to be there.
Yeah.
No, we've been brainwashed completely, but it's all just to sell more guns and ammo to the South Koreans.
Yeah, beaches instead of bombs. Condos.
Well,
condos
the
of
word
collusion.
They used was bombs for beaches.
Yes, bombs for beaches. Condos of collusion. I think it's one of the best diplomatic moves I've ever seen, because this was set up, and there's our Secretary of State saying, "Yeah, this is great. We're going to come in. We're going to bring." I mean, sure, this is what we do. The only thing different about what we've done in the Middle East is we didn't have to rubblize this. In fact, it's even better. It's like the neutron bomb, if you remember that from when you were getting scared as a kid. There was this bomb, and the neutron bomb would kill the people but save the buildings. That's what happened in North Korea. The buildings are there. It's sound. It's not rubblized. We're still coming in with our economic hitmen. We're still going to build that up, and we're doing it right under China's nose. The kings of doing this. The kings.
Well, I know the China thing is, I've thought about that too. It's like, well, we're going to do this right, and China's there just kind of gritting their teeth saying, but Chinese have never been into turning things into tourist traps.
No, they just want to put a railroad.
They can't even do a very good job of turning their own country into one.
As we know, they do railroads great.
But they do roads and railroads, so they're doing Africa, because we can't seem to do that. We can't do roads and railroads and dams.
We can't do it in our own country.
We can do condos.
We can't do rails and road in our own country. Africa's going like, bro, have you seen your potholes? We don't need your road.
Yeah. That's a little irony there.
Now, the way this was received over on MSNBC, and again, I celebrate this idea. I think that if you know anything about business, these are, he's a dictator, and so is Kim Jong-un, but they're still men. They're still dudes. They still understand shiny things. They're people. They poop. They put on their pants one leg at a time. So this stuff works. Visual aids works extremely well. But Nicole Wallace, this is a little longer clip, but I think it'll be worth it, because you got to just listen to it. Now, you tell me whether she's unglued or unhinged. I'm not sure which one. But she cannot believe that the president put together a video pitch for Kim Jong-un. It does not fit in her mind. She goes, it could be unglued, unhinged, or off the rails. Your choice.
I'm sorry, but that was not a tourism video produced by the North Korean regime. That was a video created by the White House for Kim Jong-un and the North Koreans. Go.
It's the best 4 minutes.
Do you hear that? She can't even... the words are sticking in her throat. She is so outraged and just can't believe what she's just seen.
By the North Korean regime. That was a video created by the White House for Kim Jong-un and the North Koreans. Go.
It's the best 4 minutes you'll spend in a while. It is.
Honestly, Yeah.
There were reporters in the room who initially thought it might have been something that the North Korean government had put together, as opposed to the White House. I mean, it is, those clips there, it is built like a Hollywood trailer. It's like a blockbuster movie with its two central stars, Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, that they're the two men who could bring peace to the world. There is even a brief Sylvester Stallone cameo from the Oval Office from that pardon ceremony 2 weeks ago. He's in there, too. It is a remarkable piece of propaganda.
It
is a remarkable piece of propaganda.
What is wrong with them? Oh, I saw that. And then I said, what's that thing in the corner? That looks like whitehouse.gov.
It is whitehouse.gov.
And so I blew... Elise, what is wrong with that?
Could you imagine, as communications director at the White House, if you had overseen putting together a video like this? But this is just beyond. And the strangest part is the Destiny Productions, which is apparently the name of a film company out in L.A., and they just inserted it into this video, and that poor production company has to have this attached to their name too.
Poor production company. I'm guessing someone paid. I'm guessing the taxpayers paid for that.
Yeah, I mean, every
goodness.
spring, thousands of high schoolers make prom proposal videos that have better dialogue and better production values than that video we just saw. But look, I think it does illustrate some point here, which is that the presidency and diplomacy is about dialogue, persuasion, conversation.
Yes.
President Trump showed he was an utter failure at that at the G7. Instead, he did the one thing he can do, which is sell condos, sell real estate. And he thought that this marketing video would be basically in lieu of diplomacy with Kim. And maybe he thinks he can sell...
Let's watch that part. Wait, that's good. That's good. Let's watch that.
So I said, boy, look at that. Wouldn't that make a great condo behind... And I explained, I said, instead of doing that, you could have the best hotels in the world.
Come out.
Think of it from a real estate perspective.
Think of it from a real estate perspective.
Wait, I got to see it again. At the beginning, I think he says, when the kids are going, when they're nuking their neighbors, when we're testing, hang on, I got to see the beginning again.
Think of it from a real estate perspective.
I can't.
You have South Korea, you have China, and they own the land in the middle. How big?
I don't know if she's having an orgasm or what.
Is that right? It's great.
Unbelievable.
So when they're testing their ICBMs, I'm thinking, what a spot! Like it could be like Boca. It could be just like Boca. What is that? What is wrong with it? I want to bring back the Mocha test. I want
the Mocha test. You know what the Mocha test is? The Montreal Cognitive Assessment. Yes, the Mocha test. Bring back the Mocha test. Trump is nuts. Maybe you should take it first.
I'm thinking, what a spot. Like, it could be like Boca. It could be just like Boca. What is that? What is wrong with it? I want to bring back the Mocha test. I want Ronnie Jackson under oath on Capitol Hill. What was that, Jeremy Bash?
He totally, one day in the Oval, he said to his people, we should really produce a video and make it like a Hollywood trailer. He's this, he's that. Together,
but how about while I was watching an ICBM test, the first thing I thought was, let's make Boca.
That's right.
What?
Location.
It opens a critical window into how Donald Trump views the world. He looks at it in transactional financial terms.
Yes.
He doesn't see an ICBM that could wipe out the United States. He sees that's some prime real estate, and maybe I can convince him to stop blowing up the ICBM.
Yeah, I actually think the video is for him. I actually think the staff put it together to convince him about that he could be a superhero in this dialogue with Kim Jong-un. And that's what this was all about. Really, they're trying to, I think, show him in a language and in a communication strategy that he can understand.
And every real estate CEO, every big CEO has movie-making fantasies, and I'm sure that Donald Trump thinks that, yes, he should produce this video to save the world.
Let me ask you a serious question, though, to all of you. Where are the freaking grown-ups? How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't think they're at MSNBC.
Holy mackerel! I'll give you a borderline for that. You cut it to that because of the length. But I think you could have just cut her. Just her going.
Yeah, if I had more time.
And if the argument that everyone sees ballistic missiles and he sees the property and hotels, so that thus he's an idiot.
Whereas he did something.
Where are the adults?
It's this stuff that brings out Roger Stone. You got to be careful, Nicole Wallace. Everybody's got something to hide, girl. I don't say that threatening.
Anyway, I would say unhinged.
Unhinged? Okay, unhinged.
Final analysis.
Yeah. Thank you. I was trying to figure out what if it was unhinged or, unhinged. Yes.
Yeah, she's off. But she is off the rails. So.
Hey, an OTG update. I am off the grid, which means I no longer use my smartphone, certainly not out of the house. I use it in the house often as a very expensive tablet.
And I'm going to interrupt you because my phone, which I have not used for a week and a half because I lost it.
Oh. You lost it?
Yeah, I lost it. Was found yesterday by my daughter, who was cleaning up part of the house.
Yes.
And, hey, I found your phone. And so I got the phone. And
how long has it been missing? And when did you notice it? Did you notice it about 2 weeks ago?
No, I noticed it pretty much when it went.
Can you imagine any person, if I do man on the street, and I say, what would you do if you couldn't find your phone? These people would answer, I wouldn't leave the house until I had it, of course.
So a week and a half goes by, I got my phone back. But I noticed that during that, I actually was cognizant of the moments where I missed the phone. And I'm going to tell you what they are before you go into your pitch.
Okay.
If I go someplace where my battery's going to die or something, I'm worried that maybe the car won't start, I'll take the phone.
The Lexus not starting? What kind of heresy is this?
No, there's this guy.
What is this heresy I hear?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to get it fixed. That's one moment, but then again, I don't care. The other one is you're going shopping, you're at Costco or something, and you might want to call your wife and ask if she needs something. Or, hey, I saw this thing here. Should we buy this? Should I buy that?
Or just to say, hey, baby, I love you.
Uh-huh. So those are the only 2 times that I felt I maybe could use the phone. The rest of the time, I don't need this phone. So I got it, but I got it back, so I have a phone again. So, well, there you have it.
Yes.
I don't find these as useful as everybody else.
Well, it turns out that you really don't need them, and you get a lot more pleasure out of walking around observing everybody else, all the zombies, because the apocalypse is upon us. So I am off the grid, or OTG, because I am anti-tracking and I am pro-sanity. And it's mainly the pro-sanity part, which is important because you are ill and you don't know it. I was ill too. Not as bad as others, of course, and I have a lot of experience in this type of addiction. But I definitely had issues with the notifications and the tracking and the smartphone controlling more of my life than I wanted to as a piece of wetware. So I do have 2 experiences. They're very similar. And then maybe just some advice or some questions about it. So I've been out on the town with, Tina's daughter is with us for the summer, and we have gone out to dinner a few times. And in both cases, we had a female server. I would say in the millennial age range, probably around 25, 26. And, so I take the Nokia, the E71. It rarely ever goes off. I'm getting more political phone calls these days. You donate to both sides of the house, and then you get calls from both sides when it's time to pony up and chip in. Sometimes a text message, and but I have a few emails that will alert me if there's an email that I really need to read. One of them is from you, a newsletter or something like that, or from my daughter, and that's about it. But the Nokia E71 is just there on the table because I don't want to sit on it. It's in my back pocket. I can sit on it. Unlike an iPhone, it won't hurt it. It'll be fine. And in both cases, the waitress goes like this, comes over, drinks, talking, chatting, and goes, "What is that?" and in both cases, I've done. I'm off the grid. I'm OTG. I don't like the tracking. In both cases, that has not registered at all when I say it right off the bat, and they come back with, what is it? Is it? No, wait, is this a loaner? Is your phone getting repaired? Wait, you're a drug dealer. It's a burner, right? It's a burner phone. No, this is the phone I actually use. Wow! Can I hold it? Can I touch it? Wow, that is just, and they're befuddled. So here, and then finally I get to I'm trying to do a digital detox, which is what you need to say in the beginning, because if you say that, they go, oh, yeah, I am on Instagram a lot. Really? Yeah. How much do you think? I don't know, but yeah, I can see kind of what you're saying. And I don't like it being tracked by Facebook. Well, and in both cases, but if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you have to hide? And which my response is, young lady, when you get to be as old as I am, you got plenty to hide. Trust me, you'll find out about that. But then right after that, they'll say, yeah, and it's always the same. You and my friend and I were talking about something, and then all of a sudden the ad showed up on Facebook, because this is now an urban legend where, of course, it hasn't happened to everybody, but now everyone says that. My best friend is one of those stories. My brother's uncle, he has a friend in the Army, and he had the Facebook ads show exactly what he was talking about just a few minutes ago. So anyway, it is without a doubt a great conversation starter. Chicks love it, but I don't have the right comeback yet. And I think, I think I just need to keep with the
chick.
What? It's a chick magnet.
Chick magnet.
It's a chick magnet, baby. But I think I have to. Well, this is what Tina says. She's like, "This is a chick magnet." I need a better comeback, because, as Elise, her daughter, pointed out to me astutely, because she saw my glee. I'm like, "Oh, this is fantastic." She said, "Adam, just so you know, people think that you're basically a moron." Like, what? Yeah, because the thinking is, if you have this phone, you're such an idiot, you can't even control a smartphone. So it's not really something to be happy about, and I think that's true. So I'm looking for the appropriate response that'll just wow them.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to. We have the core of producers that listen to this show that will come up with something, I'm sure, better than we can just right now.
Yeah.
I will say a couple of things about this. One, says I don't even use I have the phone. I don't, I've noticed a couple of things. First of all, this happened at an event. I forgot my phone. I usually forget my phone all the time, but I needed to make a call. And so it turns out you can go up to pretty much any random person that is in especially in a group event, and just ask them to use the phone. And they always say the same, and I've done this a lot, and they always say the same thing. Well, as long as you're not calling Europe.
Really? What an American thing to say. Really? As long as you're not calling Europe. How come that as long as you're not calling ISIS?
No, it's always, as long as you're not calling Europe.
No, but that's your comeback. Your comeback is, no, it's just my CIA handler. Or, no, it's just my ISIS cell.
Yeah, I'm not pushing my luck. I just want to get the phone so I can make a call.
If you came up to me like, can I make, I'm like, are you okay? Do you need your medication? Is something terribly wrong? Can I help you? No one asks you for the phone anymore.
I do. So what I do, by the way, as a courtesy, is I punch in the number I'm calling and I show it to them. And they see it's a local number and they go, oh, okay, great. And so then you can be on the phone for as long as you want. So that is one way of getting around and people are very amenable to this. So it's not really hard to do. The other thing I noticed is that at dinner, we have the kids that got their phones and one of the things about the conversation is that people are always looking up facts. Usually they get the old man to say, hey, you're wrong.
Yeah, they go into Snopes to get the facts.
So what I've started to do is we'll be talking about something at the table. And then I'll say, who's got a phone to look it up? Look it up. I'm demanding that the kids look stuff up constantly. I don't have to do any of the work. It's almost like,
in fact, you've just created a better Alexa.
Yeah, exactly.
You just say, hey, look it up, you stupid kid.
Sometimes two people will be looking it up and then they can have
You got Alexa and Google Home. That's great.
And they will read right from the wiki page or whatever they found.
In varying voices.
Table. It's fantastic.
People, don't waste your money on talking tubes from Amazon and Google and Apple. Make a kid.
Make a kid do it.
Let your kid talk to you.
And they do it gladly.
Yes.
It's not like they're complaining.
Oh, I got to train Elise.
Yeah,
I got it.
You can do it now that you have the dumb phone because you can't look stuff up like the kids can.
Well, actually, what's happening now is that she's not taking her phone to dinner.
Oh, well, there's a drawback to that, which is you can't look stuff up.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll go OTG." Well, I'll tell her that's wrong. Someone's got to be. Someone has to have the Uber app, I'll say. just in case.
Yeah.
someone needs the Uber app. Well, anyway,
let's face it. Most people aren't going to do what either one of us do. One, I don't care. I don't even keep the phone with me. Or go off the grid with still having the phone, but having some dumb old phone.
Yeah, well,
nobody's going to do that. You can give the OTG lecture till the blue in the face, and you're not going to get anyone to switch. I want to hear from one producer that says they're going to switch.
Oh, tons of producers have switched. The Nokia E71 is in new production in China. They're just cranking those things out. They can't sell them fast enough. I've invested in Nokia.
It's probably not a bad investment.
Nokia, they're at about $6.12 now. Nokia is, you watch these guys. You keep a sharp eye on what they're doing. They see the hole in the marketplace. They see they start off as a rubber boot company. These guys know their markets. So,
they've gone through one thing after another. They went from rubber boots, and they're also a monitor company.
Tires,
monitors,
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, they know what they're doing. They manufacture, and they're coming out with a new line of. They're coming out with a line of smartphones, which will be like $150 or something.
Yeah, well, everyone's doing that.
Yeah, but I think that the feature phone, reintroducing some of those they've already started doing that as a nostalgia type thing that you'd buy at Urban Outfitters, next to your vinyl record player. So they're doing that. They'll find a market there. And they just have to figure out that they need the QWERTY keyboard. Once they put that back on, people are going to love them again. Anyway.
Okay, we'll come up with a couple of lines for you.
Some lines. So I can get more conversation going.
Hey, man, it's too much. I'm not into the burden.
Not into the burden.
Yeah, the burden.
It has to save the climate. I think that would be better.
Oh,
I have to have the right words. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, but I'm saving the climate. Okay, I'm saving the world by doing this. And the more you talk negatively about it, you're just passing off more CO2, killing the world. Thanks. To wrap up the OTG segment, producer Kenneth sent a note about GPSs in cars and remote turn-off. And he sent in a note saying, you mentioned tracking vehicles and remotely turning off of cars. I want to let you know this is from the finance company. My girlfriend...
That's what the original note said.
Okay, well, he says, my girlfriend of 10 years has worked for a credit union. She works for a credit union and told me that if they finance to someone with a low credit rating, they will install a GPS unit so they can repo. How about that?
Well, I don't know. Almost every car's got a GPS built into it somewhere.
Yeah, but people sometimes finance old Lexuses and stuff.
Yeah,
hey, maybe the starting is something else. Maybe
that's what I was thinking.
Maybe you need to make a payment.
Somebody stuck something on there. I know they're draining the battery.
Yeah, I'm OTG. You can't find me. Yes, I'm OTG. You can't find me. Yeah, I'm OTG. No eyes on me. I'm gonna show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
We do have a few people to thank for show 1043. Very few, as a matter of fact. We do have a few of the Father's Day donations that came in. None of the big ones, of course. But let's start with James Durante in San Diego, California, to $113.94. And he does say Happy Father's Day, John and Adam. Also, a Father's Day to my dad, John, and a thank you to my MILF Alicia for my two great kids, Leah and JD.
Yeah, oh, man. Nice.
Put a Reverend Manning Sharpton jingle at the end for him. Daniel Kepler in Phoenix, Arizona, $100. Anonymous, 8006, lopsided boob. Dame Firecracker to the best dad our kids could have. Love you very much. Okay, from Dame Firecracker to Anonymous, or she's anonymous. Somebody's anonymous. Glenn Quarciani? I can't pronounce his name. Can you try?
Quarciani?
$70 from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. That's a check. Sir Rick in Arlington, Washington, $69.96. Comes in every month with a check. James McClure, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total of the call outs for dads.
A lot of hate in the world.
James McClure is at the top of the list. Just want to shout out to my best dad in the universe, Mac McClure, on the best podcast in the universe. Thanks for your courage. Nick Grube, Grube, in Oshkosh, B'gosh, Wisconsin, 6171. These are 6171 donations. Happy Father's Day, John and Adams. Thank you. Thank you to my buddy Brad, who got me into this show about a year ago. Been listening to every episode since I started. Cheers to everyone in the No Agenda family. Smoke one for all the fathers out there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you can do that anytime. Grant, just plain Grant. Just say Grant. To my dad, Ron, couldn't be more grateful to you. No Agenda really does help bring families together. Keep up the good work.
Sorry.
Daniel Warren in Boise, Idaho, 6171. ITM, John and Adam, please wish my father Richard a happy Father's Day. Love you, Dad. If you have some to spare, I'd also like some relationship karma. Thank you for your courage, love, and light. Sir Daniel P.S. When are you doing a Boise or at least a Pacific Northwest meetup? We're going to do something in Seattle in August. Nathan Miller Foster. Parts unknown. Happy Father's Day to my dad, Douglas Harry Foster. He worked as a businessman for years and on his own did his best to support us. Now he's a pastor and does his best to help as many people as he can. Nice. Life is a long road, Dad. Here's to the years ahead. Peter J. Boyle Jr., San Francisco, California. A happy Father's Day to his dad. No note here. Lee Scarbeck. 6171 for my dad, Jimmy, the man who said if you wanted to double your money, fold it and put it in your pocket.
Here's a dadism for you.
And last on this list is Benjamin Norman, who says, Happy Father's Day, Sir John, from Corey, Kim, and a dude named Ben. And he actually is named Ben, which is unusual. Okay, onward, Jennifer Hedrick in Harvard, Illinois, 5150, but she has a Father's Day call out to Carlos Pacina from Jennifer, Autumn, and Calvin. And a happy Father's Day to John and Adam, too.
Thank you.
Ryan McConnell, 5105. He's complimenting you on the net neutrality thing.
Thank you.
Which we harp on, of course. Thank you for that. Amanda Tootle, 5069. Happy Father's Day to my DILF and mouth hitter Tyler Stewart. Thanks for working hard so I can stay at home with our 2 human resources instead of teaching in a public school.
Oh, yes.
Thanks to No Agenda, we plan to homeschool. Thanks to No Agenda, we plan to homeschool. No PBS or many other EduSpeaks acronym.
The PBIS.
I'm sorry. PBIS. Right. We have to keep on that one.
Oh, yeah. I have some feedback.
Jorge Bruzon Rodriguez in Apopka, Florida, 5038. This is love and light. Thanks for keeping me sane. BrianBarrow.com, 5038. Thanks for the ongoing world affairs. No Father's Day thing here. Anonymous G, 5038. They're still voting, by the way.
Mm-hmm. They must be a few shows behind. It does happen.
Daniel Vasquez in Sandy, Oregon. This is the $50 list that we're going to right now. Please, this goes to Sean's knighthood. Chris, now I'm going to just tell you the names and locations. Chris Lewinsky from Sherwood Park, Alberta, 50. John Camp, Antlers, Oklahoma. Micah, now I forget again, in Bethel, Pennsylvania.
Micah.
Dalit Zanguzan in Bellevue, Washington. Joel Daroon in Savannah, Georgia. William Cameron in parts unknown. I guess its name is Billy Cameron. Oh, I see. Okay. Patrick Lomsdale in Merano, Italy. Oh,
Bolzano. Yeah, just
nice.
Landed in Houston for a business trip presenting my keyless mobile access solution. And one of my first thoughts was to donate to the world's best podcast show. I've been listening for a while. Happy to see you still alive as you bring things up. Yes, every morning I wake up, I also think, still alive. Ha ha, New World Order. You didn't get me while I slept, New World Order.
And finally, last but not least, is Sir Jerry Wingenroth in Saugus, California. I want to thank all these folks for contributing and helping us produce show 1043.
Yes, and thank you to everyone who came in under $50, which is reasons of anonymity. People are also on one of our many subscription programs. I got a note here from producer Jason. He says, my wife and I were pre-approved to purchase a house. We picked one out, made an offer. It was accepted. Everything was fine until we received our conditional approval letter requesting clarifications about various things in our credit history. Apparently, the item that caught his eye was the following one. Jason and a name to provide an explanation for multiple PayPal payments shown in Wells Fargo checking account. Do customers have any accounts with PayPal that have recurring monthly payments? For example, and they highlighted his monthly $10 payment to the No Agenda show. And they had the dates that he donated on his subscription. Said, outside of the fact that it shows that I'm somewhat tight with my money, no, we appreciate anything. That's the value you got. That's good. We're fine with that. What business is it of Wells Fargo that I support the best podcast in the universe with a recurring donation? The fact that I'm expected to explain this to the company that had to reestablish itself for exploiting customers is absurd. As an aside, I am sure it has some BS to do with giving money to terrorists. Yeah, thanks. As a functional observation, they didn't question the monthly transfer to Microsoft for Office 365 or Glenn Beck's The Blaze. Waste of money. I will reallocate those funds to you guys. Both of those went through PayPal as well. I just thought that was a fun note. He got his mortgage put on hold thanks to the show. Thanks, Wells Fargo. Bunch of douchebags.
I got a big laugh of mechanics when I was putting a deposit together and talking to him. I said we had a mortgage at Wells Fargo. And what I always like to say when I'm visiting the Wells Fargo's office, because they always ask you, do you have any other accounts? And I say, not that I know of.
I'm sure they love that. Well, anyway, again, our value for value model is how this system works. We do need you to participate. We had a great executive producers and associate executive producers today. And thank you, of course, for the 7 or 8 people who still love their dad and wanted to show their appreciation through the show. But we do have another one coming up on Thursday, and we'd appreciate you helping out as much as you can. Remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's your birthday.
A couple names on the list for today. We have no nights and no title changes, so you'll have to do with this for our segment. Ryan Brady will be 27 on the 20th. We congratulate him in advance. Rachel and Daniel Vasquez say happy birthday to Sean McKenzie in Sandy, Oregon. He celebrated on the 10th of June. And Lisa Stelter says happy birthday to her smoking hot husband, Paul. His birthday is on the 20th of June. We also say happy birthday and happy Father's Day. OMG, OIG. OMG, OIG. It's a new heading I have in the show notes.
What's OMG, OIG?
Yeah, OMG.
So it's anything to do with GOG or Magog?
Yes, OMG. Oh, my God. OIG, Office of Inspector General. OMG, OIG.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about this document, which came out on their last show day.
Okay, well, let's start. Let me start. Can I start with a Schumer clip?
Sure thing. Actually, does it explain what it is? We must remember that not everyone knows what the hell is going on.
It explains the following. It explains the following. Trump's a jerk.
Oh, okay.
That's what it amounts to. And apparently the IG report confirmed it.
So we now know the long-awaited report from the Inspector General has been made public. Several things are crystal clear. First and foremost, anyone who is hoping to use this report to undermine the Mueller probe or prove the existence of a deep state conspiracy against President Trump will be sorely disappointed. Those of us who are interested in the truth, however, are pleased to know that the Inspector General wrote time and time again that when it came to the Clinton email investigation, quote, no evidence that the conclusions by department prosecutors were affected by bias or improper consideration. No evidence that the conclusions by department prosecutors were affected by bias or other improper considerations. Rather, we concluded that they were based on the prosecutor's assessments of the facts, the law, and past department practices. Plain and simple, couldn't be plainer, couldn't be a more strong repudiation of those who wish to say that there was bias in the Mueller investigation. Did Director Comey, the FBI, and DOJ handle the public aspects of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email correctly? Of course not. We Democrats said that then. The Inspector General makes it clear now.
You know, this was such a great move by the Office of the Inspector General. And for those who haven't followed this Merca news, this is a huge report, 546 pages, I think. And it is supposed to show what went down with the Clinton email investigation, and then how that then some of the same people transitioned into the Russian collusion investigation. But the Office of the Inspector General is, it has a job, and it's like the HR department of a company. So it will always kind of try to protect the integrity of the corporation, of the FBI. And if you read this report, and I have read it, I read all of it, it's useless. What it's great at is giving us a lot of factoids, but whenever it comes, and it's really, there's two things in here, I think, that show its uselessness. One is there's no evidence of this bias. Now, you can argue that the text messages are biased. The text message of Agent Strzok saying to FBI lawyer Page, who are in a the FBI lovers, that, hey, baby, don't worry about it. He's not going to become president. I'll stop this. I'll take care of it for you. So I can kind of understand where, that's not really evidence. The bias is there. But to say that there's evidence, no, they didn't have any actual evidence that showed they were messing around, because that's all very subjective. The second part was the foreign entities or governments had obtained classified documents, and it says in the language of the report, through email, cyber, or other means, which is really wishy-washy, because what they're doing is they're not saying it came from her server, it got hacked, and, so therefore there's a real problem because she had confidential documents on her illegal, independent, outside of all security email server. It could have also been through other means. So it's a bullcrap report. The thing that really got me was the incredible collusion between FBI agents and lawyers and the press, which, of course, didn't get a lot of play in the press, in the M5M. But there's sporting events and lunches and parties and all kinds of stuff, and they're all, then and you see the little diagram in the report where you have one agent and there's 20 people talking to him. Or one reporter talking to 20 different agents, and they have directional diagrams of which way the information is going. So this kind of report, you can cherry pick on both sides, whatever you want out of it, and make your case. Now, I actually found that old Mika clip that we were looking for on the previous show. I didn't find it. Someone sent it to me.
Is what I hear from all the Trump supporters.
This is what the media wants you to do as an obedient slave.
Trump supporters, they go, yeah, you guys are going crazy. He's doing, what are you so surprised about? He's doing exactly what he said he's going to do.
Well, and I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts, and it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job.
Yeah.
That is our job, to control what people think, you stupid slave. So you listen up. And that's exactly what's happening. There are a couple of other interesting bits in it. And I was kind of on the fence about this one at first. In there, it is very clear that President Obama communicated with Hillary Clinton by sending email to her hrc@clintonemail.com address, which was the offsite server. And I actually thought to myself, well, it's not like he's the president. He's not going to type in the email address. And it says Hillary Clinton. It just says her name. So he just uses that, or it comes back. Not every email program shows the email address that it comes from. Sometimes you have to, like in Outlook, you have to click details to see. So I gave him a little bit of leeway until I heard Dan Bongino. I like Dan. He's the ex-Secret Service guy who has his own show on NRA TV. So you could say he might be a little right of center. But he explained exactly how email communication works in the White House. And then I was like, I think Obama is full of crap.
The most damning revelation, I think you just nailed it, is the Barack Obama receiving emails from Hillary Clinton's personal, not state.gov account, which she didn't have. Now, quick thing on this. The White House Communications Agency, WACA, that's responsible for President Obama, now President Trump's communications, had to whitelist that email address, Tucker. In other words, somebody had to tell WACA, hey, put that personal email address in Barack Obama's phone. Who told them? Are you still going to stick to this story, Barack Obama and team, that you had no idea Hillary had a personal email account? Plausible deniability here is gone and out the window. Do you think Barack Obama on his personal BlackBerry was getting, spam emails about a flower sale for Mother's Day? Those emails had to be whitelisted before they even hit the BlackBerry, meaning somebody gave WACA that email address and said, hey, this Hillary Clinton personal one, don't worry, this one's A-OK.
So I'd say there's some collusion going on there.
That was a good clip.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of WACA. I like the acronym WHCA.
Oh, yeah,
WACA. Now, so if you feel like reading the report, I think it was in the last episode show notes. You can find it. It's really disheartening because what you see is that just like any corporation you've ever worked in, the United States government is a shit show. From beginning to end, it's rotten. It's like because it's just like a company. Executives are assholes. People backstab each other. They collude. They try to come up with schemes. They do all kinds of things, and it's crap. It's an org, and that's what organizations are, filled with people. People look out for themselves, and it's just shit. And it's disheartening, but it's not the beautiful dream of the great American government with just as banana republic as anybody else. There is some violation, though, as Congress has repeatedly asked for all of the text messages between the FBI lovers, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. And one of the shocking things was that when the Inspector General report came out, there were text messages that had been requested in the time frame, I presume, and date range of the lovebirds, but they never received, yet the Office of Inspector General did have these text messages.
The Inspector General's report shining a new light on texts between FBI agent Peter Strzok and his girlfriend, FBI lawyer Lisa Page. In an exchange included in the report, Page asked Strzok, quote, "Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right?" Strzok responds, no, he won't. We'll stop it. While the Inspector General said he did not find documentary evidence that political bias affected any decision-making, he concluded that because of his views, Strzok may have improperly prioritized the Russia investigation over the Clinton probe during the final weeks of the campaign. Bill, one other extraordinary fact, maybe you can shed some light. The second part of that Strzok exchange with Page, Congress had asked for that, and that was left out of what was provided to
the
Congress.
Lisa Page part they got from Ron Johnson.
But it did not.
The question is whether it was a glitch or whether it was deliberately excluded.
A glitch! Shut up about the glitch!
So that's just a little joke for you. But I am going to tell you that what the FBI has produced is all completely incomplete. Incomplete information. I've looked at every text message in this report. And in today's day and age, this is, and it's a travesty. I can't believe no one's picking up on this. In the printed versions in the report, there's not a single emoji in any of these text messages. And let me tell you something. Emojis are a very important part of context and of today's communication. And there should at least be one eggplant emoji between these two. So this is incomplete information.
Huh. Well, I don't know that everybody uses emojis.
These two, come on. There's no heart. There's no double hearts. There's no vibrating heart. There's no eggplant emoji with raindrops. Come on.
Yeah, it's an interesting thesis.
The whole thing is bull. We're not getting any of the real information. Really not. It's a nice job. It's the
same thing with that Lois Lerner case. That's been going on forever, and is
that still
pretty
going?
Much now a known fact that she was like abusing the powers of the IRS.
It's still going, huh?
Yeah, they're still because they're they're finally getting enough.
My goodness.
I mean, they should throw her in jail. That woman.
Yeah. Now, I believe that there is still another OIG-OMG report forthcoming, and that will be specifically about the Russia investigation. But I expect more of the same. And it's just a time waster.
And it's a time and money waster.
And it pollutes the airwaves.
Yeah, well.
It really does. Just pollutes them.
Damn Trump.
It rarely happens. Rarely do we see this kind of conversation. Although it's being positioned in a very unique way, and it's being used exactly the opposite of how I'd like to see it used. We had a shooting in Colorado. It was a very scary one. This guy in Westminster, Colorado, he chased people. Chased them. This guy is, sick. But listen to the local report.
Venice, a stranger, left a flower and tears where a 13-year-old boy was shot and killed. That child's mother and brother also shot. So was a man sitting in his truck. The shooting has left people here shaken.
I don't feel safe, I felt safe here my whole life, and I honestly don't feel safe anymore.
23-year-old Jeremy Webster was arrested for several charges, including first-degree murder. Westminster police believe it was a case of road rage. Court records say Webster told police he had mental issues and had started taking new prescription medications.
I don't buy that anymore. That's a cop-out so they don't end up in prison, so they don't get a death penalty. Or they, you can't use this as an excuse to take someone's life.
Attorney David Brown says Webster's claim is not unusual.
So if he was prescribed something that had a unforeseen result that made him psychotic or detached from reality, that could be a complete defense to everything he's charged with.
Brown says the jury will have to decide if medications and Webster's mental state played a role in the shooting. Some say they may never understand what drove a man to shoot 4 strangers, including 2 kids. For now, they just want the family to know that child will never be forgotten.
So this will be a very interesting case. And it sounds like the spin here is already, hey, let's get one person off the street, one and one only, who says that's just a defense, to use it to defend from killing people. Sad, but this will be a big case for me.
Well, it would definitely be good for the show.
Yeah, it's not going to change anything in the world. Is that what you're telling me? You're just going to knock me down and tell me I'm swinging at windmills? Nice try, Curry. Yeah, gotcha.
I got an offbeat clip here. Get it out of the way. This woman, actress Bryce something or other, she's in the new Jurassic Park film. And so I don't know how much acting is done anymore, or they just put people in situations where they just freak out and then they film it and then they say that's acting when it's not acting at all. And so the director of this movie, the new Jurassic Park film, or Jurassic World.
Is this Bryce Dallas Howard?
Yes, Bryce Howard.
Uh-huh.
And so she to make it so that apparently they're in a ball at some point and it falls into the water and all the rest of it, and they have them screaming. And then she describes the situation, how they filmed it. They created a little roller coaster, and then they filmed the roller coaster, but she's deathly afraid of roller coasters. She goes on and on about this, but he makes her get in this thing, this contraption. It's a very small roller coaster, and starts filming her. And then she describes the experience in this clip. But let me just ask the question before I play the clip, which is, isn't this like against California labor laws? This sounds like unbelievable abuse, and nobody picks up on it. Jimmy Fallon cracks up. He thinks it's hilarious. But just listen to this horror that they put this woman through just to get a shot.
Scared? This is true. I was so afraid that Justice Smith actually just reminded me of this a couple of days ago, that with each take, you kind of normally with stunts, you get sort of more and more confident with each take. With each take, my panic increased and substantially. And by like the fifth or sixth take, there's like so much fear. And Justice told me, and I remember this now, I was like, and I blacked out. I went, and then it stopped, and then I kind of like came to.
It's like fantastic acting. Yeah. Bryce, you were a genius. You were fantastic. We got it. You look like you were passed out there.
Yeah, you were so
realistic.
Oh, man. If Obama was president, he'd give her the Congressional Medal of Courage.
I just found this to be distressing that, you got to Hollywood and it's Me Too movement and the hate Trump movement, all the stuff going on, and then you have talk about abuse.
Well,
this is abuse.
Yeah, that's what they sign up for. You're an actor.
Well, you sign up for getting sexually abused too, I guess, if you're working for the Weinstein Company.
This is Ron Howard's kid. She's pretty protected, I'm sure.
Well, I think they should rethink. No, that's why she's such a noticeable redhead.
Yeah,
they should rethink this.
Yeah,
and I think Howard should,
think
the whole thing is just a bad idea. I just thought it was I thought it was abusive.
I can see.
She passed out.
I'm glad that you're standing up for actresses. They need more defense.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Continue.
Point.
Now you tweeted this thing out about Jeff Bezos, the Beesmeister.
Yeah.
And the WAPO video. Do you want to play that?
WAPO, yeah.
Because I figured I'd clip it if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. I think it's hilarious. I didn't know if it was jokes.
Dear Jeff Bezos. Dear Jeff Bezos.
Dear Jeff Bezos.
I'm a graphics reporter.
I'm a video editor.
I am a food writer.
I'm the global opinions editor.
I'm an advertising account manager.
I'm an embedded audience editor.
I'm a Metro reporter and co-chair of the Guild at the Washington Post. We're extremely grateful that you bought the Washington Post. We've taken your long runway and we've given it our all. In the past year alone, the Post has doubled the number of its digital subscriptions and increased online traffic by more than half. Its advertising team has met or exceeded all of its targets. More than a year ago, the Guild's bargaining committee entered into negotiations with the Post, hoping to achieve some of the benefits for our members and share in the success that we've had for the past year. What we found instead is a profound unwillingness by the Post's top management to meet us halfway on a lot of the issues that are important to us. We've won the right to ask for a pay review based on the possibility of gender or minority-based pay disparity. And we've also won the right to have spouses who both work at the Post take paid family leave. But we've been met with unyielding resistance on almost every other issue of importance to us. And we've only basically managed to keep the worst things from happening.
I'm fighting for a decent raise.
Because I believe everyone who has contributed to the Post's success deserves a share in it.
I'm fighting for equal pay because regardless of gender or skin color, we all deserve to be paid the same for equal work.
I'm fighting for better retirement benefits and a higher 401k match.
Because while I love working at the Washington Post, I would one day like to be able to retire from it.
I'm fighting to retain some amount of job security.
Because as I'm investing my time in the Post, I hope that the Washington Post is also investing in me.
I'm fighting for a decent severance package that won't require me to give up my legal rights.
Our stories aren't unique, Mr. Bezos. More than 400 of our colleagues have signed this petition, and they're just asking you to listen.
I love working at the Washington Post.
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 But it's been more than a year. We deserve more, and we deserve better.
WAPO, 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 WAPO.
WAPO. Oh, I love seeing this play out. This is great. Like, hey, wait a minute. You bought us. You said you give us this long runway, and we've really been working hard. Now we want more money. You're rich, man. Give us some of your money.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it is. Like,
oh yeah,
you're so successful. We want some of that internet money, man. Jeff Bezos. So they have a guild. They have a union. He's screwed. They're gonna. I predict a strike. I predict a strike. He doesn't know how to deal with unions.
Maybe you're right. Well, we'll find out, won't we?
I hope it's strike.
If he doesn't know how to deal with unions, I can assure you he's going to do the wrong thing.
What would the wrong thing be?
That is classic. I know how to do. You got to be tough with these guys. You got to be tough. Nobody's tough. I'm a tough guy.
You think he's going to do that?
That's him. And so he brought this on himself by bragging about how they're doing so well. He did this about, 4 or 5 months ago. He comes out, we're doing great. All these other newspapers aren't doing as well as we are because they're stupid. And, he brought it on himself.
Yes. Well, we'll see. I got some note from one producer who was saying how horrible Washington State is, especially Seattle. He says the homeless situation there is crazy. Is that true?
He hasn't been to San Francisco.
Is that's worse than Seattle? I mean, people are saying Seattle's pretty bad, especially the RVs. The RVs are parked everywhere.
Ugh, geez, lightweights.
What do you mean lightweights?
Oh, no, San Francisco's got them. They got RVs, they got trailers, they got people living in their cars, they got people on the streets, they living in tents, they're shooting up. It's unbelievable.
Oh, it's fantastic. What a great place to be.
And they're pooping in the streets. There's no Seattle poop map.
Not yet, but I would say
that's what I said. They're behind. San Francisco's ahead of them.
I would say there's at least 7 or 8 more poop maps that could easily be made, and I think that there's a market.
Poop map market. Get a corner on the poop map market.
That's right. I'm trying both. Let's get some VC funding. I'm sure they'll be good with that.
Tim Draper.
Yeah, Tim. I got a great idea.
Tim, we got a great idea.
You have anything else, or are we good?
No, I'm pretty good, but I just want to mention I got a note from Elliot Lang, who discussed the police. He's an ex-policeman, chief of police, in our report on that technology. He says it's bull crap.
Which technology?
The one where the shell casings thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, really.
He goes on and on. I will read this, or I'm either going to post it on the website I'm working on, which I probably won't get to, or I'm going to read it on the next show. And then we also have, just by coincidence, Ryan Thompson, who wrote in for the last show, who is the guy with the 2 master's degrees. He's a teacher. Mm-hmm. He wrote in to discuss the learn.kqed.org site.
Yes. I and I'll say that I have 8 or 9 different notes from producers, which I'm moving to Thursday. So this would be a tease, or do you want to read the whole note? It's kind of long.
No, I'm just going to mention that he's just kind of funny the way he puts his language. I put my knowledge from my 2 master's degrees to work, but this site seems to be just another drop in the ocean of sites and curriculum programs that are designed to give students a digital learning experience that ends with them having learned jack shit.
Yeah. And how many masters does he have in education?
2. Okay. 2.
Step it up, man.
He goes on. So most of these would be worth reposting in their entirety online. So I'm putting them aside for that purpose. Okay. I may read from them on the next show.
And we'll definitely read some more of I'm putting it under the heading of edutainment, because that's what school seems to be in the business of these days. So edutainment. And there's always show notes for those of you who want to take a look at them, nashownotes.com, and a plethora of fun things, which we will be bringing to the table on Thursday's edition of the best podcast in the universe, your No Agenda Show. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA, for we need that value to flow in our network, the Value Network, with life-saving tips. And coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, this is the capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region 6 on the governmental maps, if you're looking for it. In the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I wish everybody a happy Father's Day and they have a good Sunday today. Thank you for listening. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Until Thursday, as always, adios, mofos! I need a cab.
Taxi!
So he can, but he won't, or will he, or would he even need to? Does that jive with you?
But first, let's talk about bugs.
Perform for a hate group or, say, Steve Bannon's birthday party.
Crickets.
Just not for ourselves.
I love the gays.
And not for the ISPs. Say, Steve Bannon's birthday party.
Crickets.
Just not for ourselves.
But,
not for the ISPs.
Will he, or would he even need to?
25 million.
Not for the ISPs.
Need to?
Party.
Crickets.
Just do, or will he?
For ourselves.
But,
wow!
We have a
75 million.
Russia out. They should let Russia come back.
275.
An artistic.
But first, let's...
ISPs. I'm an artist. I'm a stand-up comic.
Green potholes and paths passed. No, sir.
It's not. They asked me to. Not for ourselves. Steve Bannon's birthday party and a comic. ISPs. They asked one for a hate group. ISP endeavor. Men's artistic endeavor.
In the pop.
I'm just giving myself an example.
I love the
It's not maximizing rep. One for a hate group. For ourselves. Artistic endeavor. And ourselves. Just give myself a comic. For ourselves. To perform ISPs. Steve, just give my ISPs.
Crickets.
ISPs.
In the pothole.
I love the or say Steve
pothole.
ISP.
Thanks to you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder ABDs about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist, intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney, Representative Raul Labrador. The years of abuse, I personally apologized to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
We're having a lot of fun. Like a ship, just keep going. Big, strong guys, some wonderful women. They're all hugging, kissing. Everyone's crying. Somebody said, did she have a facelift? No. Did she have this? Did she have that? I mean, the speculation, which is what you need. You need different. You need like the opposite. I did nothing wrong. There was no collusion.
Any collusion?
I love trade. You know, trade's always been my thing. Even 20 years ago, when we have the laws changed, it'll be like perfecto. I signed an agreement where we get everything. Yeah, they said they will stop me.
Up next on tonight's Open Mic Night, we have someone here going by the name of Kim Jong Trevor. Please put your hands up.
This is a love song for a special friend.
We
primed our missiles last night pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. And it's gonna be high over Japan by then. I miss the West so much, I miss Dennis Rodman. It's so Romery here in the north, in such a timeless land. It's gonna be a long, long time till Dennis Rodman gets the calm drum down. I'm not the man they think I am outside. Oh, I'm a rocket man, burning up Trump's views in the UN.
Dvorak.org/NA. Republics are not democracies!